All Access Magic. My name is Ryan Edwards. This guy over here is
Blaze Sarah. Welcome everybody to the show. This is going to be a blast. I am very much excited.
I'm ready to see you get ripped apart. That's all. I'm ready to see some roasting happening tonight. I can see our guests backstage already laughing at you, so I'm pumped.
So we have a really cool guest today, and I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping just before we get into this interview. So in order to do that, let's set a timer right here so y'all can see. Okay, we've got
5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes to get this all set, all through. We've got a lot of exciting announcements. So first off, we have a product that we're reviewing this week. And this time, it's the first episode of Behind the Gimmicks that's not a gimmick. And
slowly coming up.
Slowly. This week, we're talking about the Monte Carlo Cherry Casino playing cards. Very classy, very snazzy, and they fit our whole black and gold aesthetic for All Access Magic. So we wanted to promote specifically this kind. Don't get any other color scheme. Just get these.
No.
These are the best ones. Metallic gold.
100%.
So where can you find these beautiful cards that are air cushion finished, USPCC? They've got beautiful gold ink, great for cardistry or magic. Where can you find them?
You can find those at allaccessmagic.com/shop. And they're cheaper than anywhere else. Which is
anywhere else, 10% off. And if you're a Patreon member of ours, then you've already been sent the 10% off or 20% off discount code. So you can get an additional 20% on top of this. So you're getting ridiculous discounts.
You're getting these for like bicycle deck cost.
Yeah, you're getting these for, these are ridiculously cheap. We're hemorrhaging money so we can provide discounts to you guys.
Yeah. We are losing money selling these.
We're losing money somehow on this. But yes, the Cherry Casino playing cards, the Monte Carlo Black and Gold edition are a personal favorite. So if you're interested in
definitely the best
playing cards, check that out. So I'll throw up a quick little banner. We only have 3 minutes. Oh my gosh.
3 minutes. We got to rush.
Banners. So allaccessmagic.com/shop, and you can get some of the Cherry Casino Monte Carlo Black and Gold playing cards.
Got another one here.
Like this. Oh, whoa. Great for cardistry or magic.
The other one's under here.
Now, also a great pairing that we're not offering, but if you're interested, you can also find these online. This is a black and gold close-up pad, the Murphy's Magic standard close-up pad. We think that the combo is pretty snazzy. We'd recommend it because we're into black and gold.
That's it.
Speaking of black and gold, at long last, we've had so many requests for the All Access Magic merch.
That's it.
And while you're on the shop page, if you take a little gander, take a little scroll right down. Let me just make
you
sure
got to move yourself out of the way. There you go.
I'm going to do this.
2 minutes.
Let's see the timer. 2 minutes. We take a little scroll down. Oh, what's that? Oh,
finally have it in.
Oh, right there. We finally have it. The All Access Magic hoodie and the All Access Magic t-shirt. Get yourself a hoodie. Also, we have spared no expense to make sure that these are the highest quality. I'm a huge fan of Bella Canvas merch, and this will be, without a doubt, guaranteed the comfiest hoodie that you own if you get the All Access Magic hoodie. So you can check 100%. That out at allaccessmagic.com/shop.
And for patrons, again, you get a discount on it, which is pretty awesome. And we might have some exclusives coming for the patrons as well on our merch. So
we 100% have.
We already do. We already do have exclusives just for them, but we do have some more stuff coming because I ordered some stuff this week that is not on there yet. So for the regular people, but for patrons, you'll be able to get it. So.
All right. Now we only have a minute left in our housekeeping. We'd like to do a quick shout out to all of our patrons. So we have Adam Parisi, Grant H., Ben Jones, Michaela Carpenter, Denny Corby, Pavel. We have Garvin Smith, Rob Burns. Thank you so much for all of your support. And we're doing a game night tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. So
it's going to be epic.
Join the Patreon, patreon.com/allaccessmagic during the episode. You can see the link right down there, patreon.com/allaccessmagic. join during the episode, then we'll shout you out and you can join the game night tonight. Also, at the end of this episode, we're going to be sending out a free download to all of our patrons. So if you want to get that free download, join the Patreon tonight during the episode before it's over.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be nuts. You get a free download. You already get on for games night tomorrow night. You get discounts on everything on the site. So, make sure to join up.
Yeah, last game night was a blast, and this week we're playing Mafia tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to join in on the fun and get those sweet discounts, then check it out.
I can't wait to play Mafia. You guys are going down. You're going down.
Is the timer. So we'd like to, without further ado, introduce
the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Elliott, the man, the myth, the legend,
Terral.
Boom, there he is. What's going on, sir? How are you?
Oh, not much. It's just practically the middle of the night, and I'm talking about magic, which is something I haven't done in ages.
This is early for us.
Yeah.
You
disappeared.
But I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I mean, I have been telling everybody that you are the most stylish magician that I've ever met. So, I mean,
well, thank you. That is a compliment. It's not a very big compliment considering, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, the most dapper. But yeah, I mean, we met. I'm trying to think of when I met you. It's been years and years.
Oh, I have no idea. I have no. I have no memory for meeting people. I'm great with faces. I'm not so great with names, and I just have terrible recall. If you were to start the story of how we met, I would be able to remember it and fill in the gaps.
Well, there was that one night, I think it was in Chicago, if I remember. It was a windy night in Chicago. It was really dark and rainy. We're walking down the. No, I'm making something up.
So you started that, and I had a memory that played, and that was the night that I met Jason Sudeikis, actually, at the opening of the Chicago Magic Lounge. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Actually, it's fun. Jason has one of my close-up pads that I made. So small world. But can you tell everyone? I mean, we know you from the past. Working with Dan and Dave. And that website and doing a lot of stuff with them. And then now you've done your own thing. You've kind of branched out outside the magic community. So can you tell people, for people that maybe don't know who you are or haven't met you before, what your process through that whole thing has been?
Yeah, sure. So like most people, I got into magic when I was a kid, and through luck and a little bit of guile, befriended Dan and Dave Buck and worked with them for a number of years. And I was working in the magic industry through Dan and Dave, Art of Play, Art of Magic. And I had my own podcast, Magical Thinking. And just the kind of magic life that I was living really burned me out. And so I stepped away and got into menswear and retail in general. And January of last year, started my own made-to-measure tailoring business called Rakant. And it was sort of a culmination of a bunch of different things. I had been interested in style and specifically suits since I was a little kid. Like, I used to go to bed watching David Letterman when I was really, really too young to be watching a late night talk show. And I was drawn to it for so many reasons. First of all, he's on stage getting laughs. And he's on stage getting laughs in a wacky double-breasted suit that's unbuttoned, and he's got on white socks, and he just looks like he doesn't care, which was amazing. And he was getting these laughs, and I was like, I want to do that. So doing magic was the performance aspect of it, and then getting into menswear and actually learning and honing the craft of making tailored garments. sort of all of those things came together. And that's what I do now. So I moved, I was living in LA for about 5 years, and I moved to New York in June. And I'm currently in my apartment in New York. This is my office. There's magic books behind me over here. There's swatches right here. So this is my haven of
Nice.
my personal weirdness.
So we could potentially get a custom made or designed suit tonight. You've got the swatches right there. So
I do have the swatches for sure. I could show you a bunch of really cool stuff.
To do a fitting straight on, just eyeball us, just straight through the screen, and just.
I have all of my sizes. I've got all my measurements.
I have done it before, actually. So before I started my own company, I worked at Suit Supply, and during the pandemic, they furloughed everybody. I left Suit Supply because they treated everyone really badly during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So they furloughed everybody, and then like 2 weeks into it, they reached out to top sellers across the country and said, we want you to come back and do virtual appointments. And so because I was doing made to measure for Suit Supply, I came back and I was doing made to measure through a camera, which is, extremely nerve-wracking because you're making something for somebody and you're not there to actually feel it on them. But shockingly, everything turned out pretty well.
Yes. Nice.
Which I attribute that to magic, honestly, is like being able to notice the details and like having sort of a visual and kinesthetic understanding where I can see something in a video or on a picture. And am I the only person that heard that feedback?
No, that was me. Yeah. It's all right. You're all good. I was
okay. I heard it too.
We have a call in. I was just making sure that our audio was all set for the people that are going to call in later. So,
okay, great. So I attribute like the detail aspect of magic to my ability to be able to look at something and go, oh yeah, that's caused by this. Like there's a problem solving element of the craft that is really interesting and sort of overlaps. That I could. So anyway, this is a long way around the bend to say I could make you suits tonight.
There we go.
I just don't want to.
This has become a whole new episode. We're not suits.
Of the privileged few.
Yeah.
Now I have a question. After quite a while of working in the magic industry, and since you have taken a step away, I've noticed that a lot of people that work within the magic industry end up becoming jaded towards the magic community at large. Did that happen to you? Did that contribute towards your departure from the magic scene? I know that you had one of the most prominent podcasts, the Magical Thinking Podcast, which is still out there and people should definitely check out all of the previous episodes, but you've kind of taken a step away from that and focused on this sartorial adventure. So what happened? Did you become jaded or just took a step off the path?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was burned out for sure. That 100% is what happened as far as the professional stepping away from magic. I mean, literally the last official thing that I did in magic was perform in the close-up gallery at the Magic Castle. And the day after my run was finished Sunday night, the next day I started working in Suit Supply. It was literally like, all right, that's done. Put that to bed, sleep on it, move on. So professionally, I was definitely jaded. I was tired. And, for a lot of people, performing at the castle is like a bucket list thing. So it felt appropriate to, start that new adventure.
You did the George Costanza, just hit that high mark and just leave. It's great.
Exactly. Yep. Leave them wanting more. Mm-hmm. But as far as the podcast goes, look, being out of magic definitely had an impact on wanting to do it, and also just the opportunity and the availability of people to do it. But the other part of it is that in 2020, the world changed, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the uprising that happened in the summer. And So I think, like a lot of people during lockdown, during the early days of the pandemic, I spent a lot of time navel gazing for the purposes of dismantling my understanding of how I relate to the world, including my privilege, my inherent and inherited white supremacy, my disregard and lack of interest in intersectionality. These are all things that I started addressing in myself and were put in stark contrast to what was happening in Los Angeles at the time, and specifically in the magic community at the time. I mean, there was, I don't know if anybody read the Los Angeles Times story about the Magic Castle that came out after all of that, but it was a whole big experience that really turned me off of magic community and magicians in a way that I really had not had to grapple with. And so part of stepping away from the podcast is like, I'm just a different person now. I definitely want to finish, the whole thing was 100 episodes and it would be a time capsule. I definitely want to finish the podcast, but I'm such a different person now. And what I want and what I am interested in as far as finding people and telling stories is very different now than it was then. And honestly, the kinds of stories that I'm looking for are few and far between in the magic community. And so I'm trying to thread the needle between like finding things that uplift and support, finding people whose stories uplift and support, and also meet the sort of base requirements of, do I think this person is a good magician? Now, of course, I had people on my podcast that in hindsight, I regret giving airtime. But, anyway, it's not done. I just am not ready to continue yet.
And who are those people, Elliott? Who are those people? That's what we want to know.
Those thinkers, Elliott. Come on.
Who are the Terral people?
I won't name any names specifically, but there were some early episodes when I was
just the episode number.
Just their home address and email. There were some early episodes when I was just starting that I either I was unprepared to do them, or I was because when I started it was like every week putting out this new thing, and there were people that I spoke with out of convenience that I thought might have something interesting to say, and then ultimately I didn't really know these people, and the episode turned out not to be as fruitful as I would have liked. And there were some people in much, much later episodes who at the time I respected, and then found out much later that those people, are we allowed to curse?
Yes.
Is this okay? I found out much later that these people are fucking delusional, and and they may be respected and prolific, and they're also fucking douchebags, and they're terrible, terrible people because they're stuck in their own self-righteousness for having been successful in a community that no one in the world cares about. So
yes,
that's pretty true. 100%.
So that there were some people that like I said, I won't mention any specific names, but I just
we're just waiting for the
those
call.
people.
We're waiting for Maris Renner, Raven Ropperfield.
Raven Ropperfield. Actually, Kenner hasn't done the podcast. I talked to him on the phone a couple weeks ago, and he's just so busy.
That wasn't to say that Kenner's one of those people. Kenner is
Kenner's incredible.
Yes. Let's all clarify.
Here's some, because I remember telling Blaze about this, because I talked to you about this at Magic Live, because we haven't had him on the podcast yet, but we definitely want to. Was Homer Leewag, and I remember you guys were doing a video thing for the podcast. I think, anyways, when you guys were at live, you were shooting it as well. And I remember you telling me the story about how like Homer wanted to set everything. You had everything all set up, I think. And Homer was like, no, I got to set this all up. So you tell us about that, because it was hilarious.
Homer is a very dear friend of mine. I care about him deeply. And one of my favorite things about him is that he has a very high standard for anything that he participates in or has a part of in. And so when I interviewed him, I interviewed him at Magic Live in his hotel room. We didn't really know each other. That interview is what sort of cemented our friendship. And at the time, that was fairly early on in my podcasting days. So I just had like a Yeti blue mic that you just sit on the table and it's omnidirectional. And, you know, you go back and listen to those episodes and you're like, oh gosh, the sound quality is bad. And it's just, you know, whatever. So I go up to his hotel room and I bring my stuff, and he has set up a little area in his room for us to sit and chat. And he has brought moving blankets for sound dampening and has rigged them up around the room and has put one over the air conditioning unit in the hotel room and is like propped the door in such a way so that it doesn't get too hot, but none of the sound from the other room. He just went totally above and beyond. And then after we finished the conversation, he insisted that I send him the raw audio file so that he could edit it. And he told me after the fact that he spent something like 30 hours editing the audio for the episode. And he bought all these audio editing programs and like watched all these tutorials and read all these message boards about how to do, you know, because he dives head in and he wants to learn how something works and why it works and why people make the decisions that they do. And I find it endlessly fascinating and inspiring and amusing that he spent so much time on this thing that anyway, it was very funny. And I, you know, was like, oh, come on, this is just like, whatever. It's a magic pocket. It's not a big deal. But Homer is just so dedicated to making something that's good that, you know, it was by far the best sound quality episode of
I was going to say, in comparison, how much better was it? Or was it worse in the end? You were like,
oh no,
worse.
That'd be hilarious if you spent 30 hours and botched the audio.
Yeah, he's like
right. Everybody sounds like Darth Vader now.
The one I did on the Yeti last week sounded perfect. That
was very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't know. There's a question in the chat about.
I was going to say we had a few picture or things come in. This one was actually funny. Yeah, he said, "Elliott, do you put a level on your picture frames, or do you hang them just by eyeballing it?" Serious question. Those are too perfect.
I, honest to God, eyeball them, and I eyeball everything that's hanging. I've got a bunch of stuff in here, and I've got stuff in the living room all around. My partner and I have just a ton of art on the walls, and I eyeball everything. I just happen to be very spatially aware. It goes back to what I was saying about being able to do tailoring over a computer. I know and I can see and I can get it. However, when I was the broadcast, I had to adjust this one because it is hung on a thumbtack, and so it sticks out from the wall. So it's not flush against the wall, and so because of how it hangs, it gets a little crooked.
Teeters a little bit. Yeah.
And I noticed it in the frame, and I was like, I'm gonna have to. Anyway, that one is slightly askew because of how it's hung. I just wanted to address that. But yes, I eyeball the picture.
Nice. Lindsay, who is probably one of our funniest viewers, said that's a brave move. Kudos for leaving the magic community and doing your own thing. So you will see lots of funny comments, I'm sure, from Lindsay over the next little bit, because
one of my favorites.
She's always got some good stuff. So
fantastic.
Now, the delusion that you a little bit more than alluded to earlier, I'm interested in kind of diving in a bit to that, because what do you feel like is the source of that, and do you feel like it's a very prominent thing in the magic community, is people having kind of a distorted ego or not being very self-aware?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's there's not a simple way for me to go about answering this multitudinous question, because there are so many different aspects of why magicians are dumb that it just is, it's impossible to go about easily. However,
we got time.
I think that, I know the Kenner episode was 3 hours long. I think that it has to do with self-awareness. The delusion that I was referencing is specifically about like a self-righteousness, a self-importance for what you have done, what you have published, what you used to do, what you're known for, all of that stuff, without zooming out and recognizing that magic and the conjuring community at large is niche and is small and doesn't make a difference in the world, even though it could. You know, magicians, one of their favorite things to do is sit around and debate whether or not magic is an art. And the answer is no, because magicians aren't artists. It's not, it just isn't. I mean, hundreds of hours of my life that you could listen to is devoted to the question, is magic an art? And after being outside of it, the answer is it's not an art if people aren't making art. It just doesn't work. There are artists who have used conjuring to make artistic expression in a way that actually fulfills on the promise of an artwork, which is to have some sort of transformation occur within the viewer. But we have the most powerful thing at our disposal, which is astonishment. And we use it as a way to bolster our own egos rather than to actually do something about the person or people in front of us and what they're experiencing and what their trials and tribulations are, and you know, speaking to universal truth. No, we're going to do a fucking packet trick, you know, and watch the aces turn over. Like, and I love that shit. Don't get me wrong. I like the Elmsley count is one of my pet moves, but who cares? Now, if you present it as, hey, you know, this is a neat trick and we're just having fun, great. That's beautiful. That can be capital M magic. But if the opportunity arises in which you have the potential to make a difference for somebody, and then you do hot rod, you don't deserve to call yourself a magician. You're a trickster. You're a fucking jester. You're a delusional, self-important, look at what I can do, silly goose is what you are. You just have no you have no relation to what is happening in front of you.
Can we just bring that up on a banner? You are a silly goose.
You are a silly goose.
You're a silly goose.
Well, but we can is, I think that was definitely a mic drop moment right there. That was a gold nugget of wisdom. Is, yeah, it's not about the art of magic. There is some art in magic that is created by the artists that are in the magic community, but it's few and far between.
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of talks with people about this too, is the art of astonishment. People go, well, that's, you know, like you said, we have one of the greatest gifts, but then everybody is like, every single magic trick has to have the art of astonishment. And it can't just like, you know, Josh J brought out the balance thing a few years ago. And I said, that's a really cool idea. You know, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I said, but there's something really neat about it. And if you could really like balance some stuff on stage, you know, that would be magical if it was like an impossible balance thing. And it can be really done beautifully around, you know, some spoken word and stuff. And like I said, it could be really powerful on stage where people, you know, depending on your scripting and stuff. And people were like, well, where's the astonishment part of it? And I was like, why does it need to be a trick? Why?
Yeah.
Why in magic does it have to be a magic trick?
Magicians are obsessed with the magic moment, right?
Yeah.
Where the moment occurs. And the reason for that is because that is when you are signaling to your audience that they should have a feeling. You're telling them what to feel and when to feel it.
Yeah.
or to prepare to feel it. And so the whole notion of the magic moment or the moment of astonishment, those two things happen in different times, but they have the same root purpose, which is to delineate when and how someone is supposed to react or respond to a conjuring effect. And I completely agree with you, Ryan. There doesn't have to be one moment. And if you're doing it for an audience of people, in my opinion, it's more interesting and more impactful and maybe even more artistic to let each of those people have their own moment.
Yeah.
If you can create something in which an entire audience of people has become one organism and they have a simultaneous experience of astonishment or wonder or whatever, great. But to imply that it is necessary or to demand that it be apparent is just so it's ludicrous. I don't even have the words to say how dumb that idea is. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's diminishing down. It diminishes the art and distills it down to something that is so much less powerful and impactful than it could be, because like something that I say all the time is we have everything at our disposal that all other performance artists have. You know, we have our physicality, we have our voice, we have everything that a comedian has, and yet we call the words coming out of our mouth patter as if it's not important, as if it couldn't.
That's because it's not important.
Itself, you know,
it's not important. The artists that you mentioned are all informed by what is happening in the world. A comedian doesn't go on stage, or at least a good comedian doesn't go on stage and do bits they learned out of a patter book from the 50s and tour the fucking country, right? Yeah. No, they have to be relevant. Otherwise, they're out of a job. Yeah. So that's the difference. Yeah. Magicians don't have to be relevant. They have to have a magic moment. They have to get the laughs. They have to get the money. They have to, whatever. All of these metrics by which people are assessing whether or not they're successful as a magician are totally irrelevant to what their audience experiences, to what it is that they're making and putting out into the world. Yeah. Because they're just worried about, it's just dumb.
Yeah.
So there's no.
Corey, I think you're not grasping. Corey mentioned how is patter not important, or am I tripping? You are tripping, son. It's basically just that Elliott was being facetious, or rather, he was talking about the fact that the magic community at large does not understand the importance of the words coming out of their mouth, and they just call it patter and will use stock lines where the words coming out of your mouth are your script and can actually be transformative in and of itself or themselves. That's a weird grammatical sentence, but the words coming out of your mouth can be very important and transformative outside of just the trick.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you call what you say patter, that tells me a lot about you.
Yeah.
At least it should be a presentation of some kind, because if you're just doing patter, fuck off. Like, I'm done with
it is funny because people will call me and say like, hey, can you come see my show, or let me know what you think of my show and stuff, and I'll say, oh yeah, send me your script. I'll check it out and stuff. Yeah, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, your script, like, you have a script. You're going on stage. You're asking people to pay money to come and see you on stage. You don't go to a movie and expect that they don't have, the movie was never written, that it's just ad lib the whole thing, do you?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't really have a script. I've done this trick like 100 times. And I'm like, yeah, but do you have like blocking in, like, when I write my script, well, Blaze has seen it, I color coordinate everything. So it's like where the audience member is standing on stage, what I'm saying, I'm already ahead of the audience member because I know what they're going to say. And so I've already scripted it in, to a certain extent and stuff. And like all of that stuff, because that's what it takes to have a great show, to be closer to that art form.
Blaze, are you taking notes?
Yeah.
I like you saying that because you saw my castle set a few years ago. And I've definitely learned a lot of lessons since then.
Yeah. I brought Blaze in to help me do some writing, so he's seen lots of it.
I am
now,
just kidding. Also, I was drunk that night, and I do not remember what I said to you. So,
dude, it was
apologies.
it was amazing because you were very drunk. And after the
complete douche. No,
I'm sure that I was.
You came up to me and you were like, I wrote a lot of notes, and then Zach and I both tried to reach out to you to get those notes, and then we never got them. But you were like, I wrote a lot of notes, and then you came up to me and you were like, man, I've read all the sartorial literature. We need to talk about what you're wearing. And then we had a whole discussion about how to dress better. And that's actually, I think, something that we should get to in a little bit. I'm enjoying the topic that we're on now when it comes to scripting, but we should definitely talk about fashion do's and don'ts.
Hang on. This was a great comment. Scripted? You mean the regurgitated trash you read every show? Let me tell you something. Hold on. Let me grab my script. I get told that all the time because there's a few friends of mine that I've said, I'll sit down, I'll help you write a script. And people that think that you have to stay on that script and this is the only thing you say every single show just don't have the experience on stage. Because the greatest part about having a script is that you can go off script and that you can get back into the show and you don't lose your train of thought. You don't lose the main focus of the show. And if your main focus of doing a show is, hey, look at this trick and then look at this trick, hey, look, guys, I just bought another trick last week from the magic shop and this is it. Then that's not a great, like when we're talking about creating art, that is you're just showing a bunch of tricks that you can do. Where when you have a script and you have a storyline to your show and there's a point A and a point B, a start and a finish, that's when it becomes more artistic and stuff. And so
look, if you don't have a script, the odds are you're going to say, do me a favor. And if you say, do me a favor, fuck you.
Yeah. I think that a huge pet peeve that I have also that I think comes along with what you were talking about of the distorted lack of self-awareness is there are so many magicians that come off very condescending to their spectators without realizing that will be like, oh, could you just write your name on this card? Oh, that's the best anybody's ever done it. Let's give a round of applause. And it's like, you're just being so condescending and douchey to this person, acting like they're not a person. And that's another thing is like Ryan and I, we recently only use the term audience member rather than layman because there are many artists that are actual artists that magicians would like to act all high and mighty above because they know a couple secrets and put themselves in the category of magician conjurer and put everybody else that isn't within this niche community in the category of layman, which is very condescending in and of itself.
Well, I get asked all the time, like, so I've started doing some cruise ships and stuff, and I do all these big theater shows and things, and people are always like, other magicians, oh, how did you get here and stuff? It's not fair. And there's a jealousy thing, I'm sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all very petty.
Yeah, 100%. And it's my biggest pet peeve in the magic community is all the pettiness between each other instead of lifting each other up. But if you got on a cruise ship and said, oh, I don't have a lighting, cue sheet, I don't have a sound cue sheet, I don't have my prop list and stuff. Do I need props that they need to bring on the ship and stuff? They would just throw you off. You wouldn't stand a chance. They would be like, you're a joke. You're not professional. And I think it's one of the biggest things people need to learn now is like, you need so the last ship I got on, I brought like 5 duotangs, one for the sound guy, one for the video guy, one for the stage crew, one for the stage director, and I got on and they're like, wow, this is great. Can we keep these? Like, this is so professional. And they were like, you're so easy to work with because everything is, jotted out. I didn't even need to be there for the lighting cues and stuff because everything is there. So to do stuff like that, if you're going to start doing theater shows and stuff and try to make a living doing magic, those are things that we need to learn and like spend time and put effort into. So,
yeah, Rob Zabrecki has a beautiful lecture about how magicians are, again, one of the few communities that do performing arts that don't build a team. They one person is trying to write, produce, direct, act, stage manage
Yep.
It's ludicrous. It's just, build a team of people who are good at the things you're not good at.
Yep.
And
100%.
And I mean, just the collaboration of it will make everything better, especially if you can get people with different points of view, different places from which they are coming to offer ideas and suggestions and notes. You're going to have a much more interesting, dynamic performance. I mean, yeah, at the very least, if you're having people pay for the show, it should be professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Actually, it's funny because I just had Blaze. You were down in like November or something like that, October or November, to help write. I'm working on a new show that's like been a few years in the making, and still will probably be another year or so in the making. So it's probably like a 5-year accumulation of things, and we changed the whole gamut of all the writing stuff when we got together. But I brought on guys that were like TV producers and sitcom writers and stuff that are not, have nothing to do with magic. Because a lot of times magicians will get in a room and go, oh, this is a really cool magic trick. And it might be cool to the magicians because, it's really hard sleight of hand or it's a really great gimmick. But to audience members, they're like, oh, that was boring or I didn't get it, And so I bring in some people that are writers that are not magicians because I think it gives even a better insight to what they want to see as well. What they're looking for in a show.
And not starting just like method when you're creating is huge. Starting from like having like John and people who were like, oh, it would be so crazy if you could do this, and then we immediately came up with methods for it. But it was something that he started from a perspective entirely outside of magic, and then we ended up with something that was much more theatrical. But what were you going to say, Elliott?
I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. So Corey said, so if you don't have a script, are you a good magician? There are some really talented magicians that don't use a script or just already have it in your head. And I'm not saying that they're a bad magician. It's just there's a level of professionalism when we're talking about being taken seriously in the real world, and the real world isn't a magic convention with a bunch of magicians hanging out or your local magic, hangout. It's when you go into a corporate setting, when you go, into a theater setting, when you're getting hired by these big companies to go in, I've worked for a number of Fortune 500 companies that are like, we need your whole script because they need to look through it to make sure that there's nothing that is said in your show that's inappropriate for their group. Those are the shows that, we all eventually like to get because, that's what, puts the bread on the table. So I'm not saying that those guys that don't have scripts are bad, just it's different.
Yeah. I mean, we also have to sort of set our operating definitions too, right? Like if you're jazzing magic and you don't have a written script for an impromptu thing, yeah, of course, fine, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If you're doing magic casually, you don't need a script. The script is the conversation, and if you have built enough foundation in your magic that in your conjuring ability that you can just then do shit that is appropriate for whatever is happening, you don't necessarily need to have written a script. But if you are at that level of being able to do amazing things, spur of the moment in which they are appropriate to the context, then it's also very likely that you kind of know where you're going to go. So even if you don't have a script, you have the beats in mind of what it is you're going to look for. And that happens instantaneously because you have practiced, because you have performed, you have the flight time, you know how it's going to go, you know what it's going to look like, or hope for it anyway. And the joy of jazzing is that it is communicative. Mm-hmm. You get to have collaboration with a participant who may not know a magic trick is happening, or doesn't know what's going to come, or any number of things. So not having a script doesn't make you a bad magician. Not having a script who is doing a formal performance, either at a library or a theater, you're probably a bad magician. Now, one of the greatest improvising magicians I know, and I think everybody here and probably most people watching would agree, is David Williamson. That guy's a fucking machine. He is hilarious. He is quick as a whip. Is that the phrase?
Yeah,
he's lightning fast. And he said it on my podcast, he will jettison the magic effect for the comedy or for the laugh. He's all about the entertainment value. I have my own feelings about that, but he is somebody who has the chops, the skill, the flight time to be able to jettison whatever he's doing. But you have to understand, he has something to jettison. He has a script.
Yeah.
And so then when he's jazzing, when he's improvising, when he's fucking around and picking people up and throwing them over his shoulder, he's doing improvisation. He's finding the new thing and working with it. And that is also a skill that you can learn and develop and read books about and take classes on and practice and perform.
Yep.
But if you just are of the mindset that you don't ever have to write anything down and you don't ever have to think about what you're saying, stop doing magic, because you're ruining it for people that want to do it well.
Yeah. Sorry, I love this comment. Lindsay said earlier, Elliott, I didn't know you before tonight, but your bluntness has made you my favorite. So
thank you.
And another, just an addendum just onto this topic that I think is interesting is just it's a lot about understanding the parameters of your performance. And on the opposite end of this pendulum swing, a lot of magicians hide behind the magic in order to feel more comfortable in a social situation. And there are some magicians who are very scripted, but in the wrong contexts, that are not doing a theatrical show, but you can see the moment that when you're talking with them and you're having a conversation, and then they suddenly flip into a different personality because now they're onto their script to share with you something. And it feels like there is a fourth wall, which is interesting because one of the beautiful things about magic is that it's one of the few art forms where there isn't a fourth wall between you and the audience, because the audience is imperative to there being a magical experience. But in most contexts, not any hard and fast rule, but there are a lot of magicians that will go into their patter and then they're a different person, because they're so locked into their script that they're not picking up on beautiful moments that could exist by being present in the moment and actually being conversational with their audience and actually jazzing a little bit more. And I remember Dane Cook kind of he was talking about like his comedic routines, and he was saying that he almost thinks of his scripted moments as like four corners of a square. And he says he likes to live in the middle, but he knows that he has those corners of safety that he can fall back into if things are going too off of the rails. But being on that edge where you're being present and responsive with the audience and actually conversational is where some of the most beautiful moments can arise. So I think it's about understanding parameters. And on the flip side, if you are booked to do 25 minutes, you better have a scripted routine to make sure that you are 25 minutes long in that set if you're within the context of a corporate event or somebody else's show. And that's a very important part. So have a script and use it. That way you have that safety net and can understand the duration of your performances. But also, if you're in a close-up conversational setting, don't be so locked into your script that you're not a person anymore. Be a human.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of that, Blaze. I think that's a great point. And, conjuring is the method and the effect. But magic is what happens in and around and near it and to people. So you can't have capital M magic if you're going into your performance voice and doing a rote script and not, if you're doing something for somebody as if you were doing it in front of a mirror rehearsing, there's no magic. So, all of this about like, yes, you need a script. You're so right. It has to be alive. You have to be able to breathe. There has to be some kind of input from the outside world. And so often there isn't input from the outside world, either in the creation of the show or in the performance of the show. And those people are bad magicians.
Yeah, this is great. We've got a ton of comments coming in. There was a couple that I really liked. One was from Dream Upright. He said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, which is an African proverb. And it's funny because I got a call just the other day, and this company said, hey, we want you to do a show in our space, but we want to turn it into a residency. We want you to be there every single weekend. And they own this huge building, and it was built before Canada was even a country. And so it's like this old historic building. And I was like, this would be really cool. And they said to me, we want it to be in different rooms in this place so that audience members are traveling through the whole building and stuff. And I said, that's amazing. So I went and checked it out today. And the first thing I did, I told these people, I said, okay, I'm going to bring my team in next week. I said, I'm going to come and see it, talk to you guys, meet you guys. And next week, my team will come and we'll walk through this whole place and get together and then go back and sit down and write and brainstorm all these ideas and try to put something together. But it's so key. I mean, we all started, doing things ourselves. And I did that for, my first couple shows. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do everything. I'll get a stagehand, but that's it. Right. Did all the production stuff. And yeah, it's not as a fun experience because you're not getting to hang out with your friends and work on things and make things the best. But you're also coming at a show with one insight, and that's your own. And that doesn't mean it's a good insight. And it doesn't mean, like you said, may not be relevant because it depends on who you are. And again, you're seeing everything through one aspect instead of an accumulation of things to make it better. So,
yeah.
And then, sorry to cut, I'm going to do this as well. Michael 6, he said, a script is like a GPS. It gets you to where you need to be in the most efficient way. Without it, you can still get to your destination, but you may just drive in circles a few times to get there, which is definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to comedians talk about comedy a lot because, I think that magic and comedy are related. And, comedians love to improvise. That's how they build their bits. Most people are not like Seinfeld and go and write everything down and then go and do it on stage and then go and edit what they wrote. A lot of people go out and they have a premise and they fuck around on stage until they find the beats, until they find the punchline. And then in today's day and age, then they film it and scrap it and move on. And that's okay too. If that's how you write your magic script, again, not if you're performing professionally, but if you're like just casually performing, you're just doing casual close-up magic, for example, it's okay to have a premise or to start and not know where you're going to go, because that also feels alive. It feels interesting. It may feel electric if you're compelling. And so it's okay to find something. But if you're not looking for something to find, then what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and it's a blanket statement. Like, people always go like, at least when I was a kid, it was like, I want to be David Copperfield when I'm older, right? Like, I want to be on stage in Vegas. And we see all these guys in Vegas on stage. And it's like, do you think any of them are just there ad-libbing their shows day in and day out, day in and day out? No. Like, Copperfield, before he puts anything in his show, the scripting of it. I mean, he's one of the greatest magic storytellers of our time. I would say, if we've watched back all of his stuff. And that's because he spent hours with multiple people writing scripts, testing things out. Someone said to me, like, yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry, I'll cut in there. Give her.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, like, he's on with the team during the show. Yeah. Any moment that he's not speaking, his mic is dead, but he can talk to the team. Yep. And so during the show, he's giving notes They do at least 2 shows a day. In the first show, he's giving notes for the second show based on how the audience reacted, things he wants to change. Okay, great. Let's move this music cue up, or let's change this light cue, or this light's not working, or the back house didn't get the effect, or this didn't work. He's constantly
it's an everyday thing
in real time.
Like Darren Brown, I went and saw Darren in New York, and we went out for dinner beforehand. And I thought, okay, we'll probably get to hang out a little bit afterwards and stuff. And the guys there were like, well, hang on a minute. We have like an hour after the show of notes because we all the stage crew, everybody takes notes during the whole show to see if they notice anything. And then Darren comes off stage and he's got his own notes for the show and I was like, this is what a show needs to be like. And if you watch his show, it's a freaking masterclass in performing because they're working their asses off every single show before, during, and after. And I mean, it's brilliant, So
well, and ultimately, like, your audience can tell if you take it seriously.
100%.
If you take doing something casually seriously, if you take improvising seriously, they can tell.
Yeah.
But if you're putting in the work, they can tell that too. Like
this was part of the magician's delusion is that the audience is the wall or the audience is the mirror. These are fucking people.
Yeah.
Who have thoughts and emotions. Like you're not fooling them. You may be doing something that is astonishing and that they don't know how it works, but like they're picking up on a lot of stuff. I'm not talking method. But like if you're not addressing that this is a person across from you, because they're looking at what you're wearing, they're listening to how you're speaking, they're looking at the way that you're using your props and moving your hands and gesticulating and blocking, all of that. And, whatever the context is, if they're in a theater, if they're seated, is the chair comfortable? What's the music like? What's the lighting like? Like people are picking up on all this stuff. And so if you put in the work and you have a team of people that are taking care of all of these things, of course, their experience is going to be better. And you're actually sweeping shit out of the way in order to get them to having some kind of magical moment.
Yep.
But it just comes back to like, are you putting in the effort? Are you putting in the work? A script is just a small part of that.
Oh, 100%.
Astonishment isn't the entire performance. That's just one microscopic moment of the performance. And there's so much more. And there are many emotions that we can evoke and I guess emotional centers within the audience's brain we can tap into outside of just evoking astonishment.
Mm-hmm. Charlie says that it's 4 a.m. in the UK right now. Was going to go to sleep, but this is hilarious. Adam Parisi says,
just go to bed, Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie. It's on YouTube. It's recorded. And you can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify.
Everywhere you get your podcasts, we are available.
I mean, look, there was another comment in here that said something about like being used to the discussions being a little more lighthearted. If you want this kind of shit, just go listen to my podcast. We can do lighthearted if y'all want to do that. If you want to hear this kind of bullshit, go.
No, I think this is stuff that people need to hear, though. That is really great. We do have a lot of fun episodes, and we've got sometimes we're.
This is not one of them.
And things will get goofy down later on in the podcast. We're only in hour 1. By hour 6,
by hour 6, it's gonna be wild.
Yeah. But Adam said comedians hit there we go. Comedians hit mics and shows as many shows as possible. Change one word in a punchline to see if it hits different. They tape their sets, collab with others. They put the work in. Very few magicians do. Which is 100%
I think
true.
That's because we have that moment of astonishment, that magic moment to fall back on. And so the thing is that comedians will walk out there and they'll have the experience of bombing, which a lot of comedians don't hate. I mean, obviously it's nerve-wracking and they hate the experience in the moment, but they're like, okay, because I bombed telling it that way, I'm going to try again. And you'll see people like Harrison Greenbaum who will go to 6 comedy clubs in a night, and by the end of the night, a joke that might have bombed at the beginning, he's made iterations, and at the end of the night now is doing exactly what he wants and getting the laughter that he wants out of the audience. But magicians, we could have uninteresting scripts and have horrible blocking and poor technique and everything leading up to one magic moment, but because the magic moment made people go, we think that we didn't bomb, and people will go out there, go backstage and be like, I just killed it. It's like, no, you didn't kill it, and it's just that your magic trick did exactly what a magic trick does. That's why you bought it off of the shelf at a magic shop. But where's the artistry in that?
Well, and the other thing too to keep in mind is like, I'm being harsh on magicians, rightfully so, but it is tough because comedians comics can go do 6 open mic nights or 6 rooms in a night. Magicians, it's hard to find a place to be bad, which brings us back to why it is so goddamn important to build a team. Find people who are better than you, who have more experience than you, to help you, because unfortunately, you're not really going to get the flight time until you get the flight time.
Yeah. Here's the one thing that's interesting too is like rehearsing. Magicians don't rehearse. Like, okay, they'll practice a trick, maybe, practice a few times on their family or their friends and stuff. And then they just go on stage and do it, which, can work out. It can work out. I'm not saying it's going to be the worst thing ever, but anytime I do a production show, I'm renting a place out or finding a place that I know that I can go in and bring a few friends in that I'm my team and sit and go through the rehearsing, go through all the scripts, go through all the blocking, go through all of that stuff. Because then when you get on stage, it's not something new, right? And that's the problem is like, we are not like comedians where we can't go to comedy club and comedy club and comedy club like one after another. But you can rent a place out or clear out your basement and set up your show and do it and film it and walk through it with your friends and go, oh, this was really bad, or this was really great. Or, hey, I just noticed I completely turned my back to the audience during this whole 3 minutes. That's not good. But people don't do it. They just go, oh, I got booked for a show. I'm just going to go and do it. Right. And I'll just grab my bag of tricks, which is not the greatest way of looking at it. It might work, but it's just, like you said, the comedian can tweak stuff every single time. If you don't have those bases, the foundational blocks, then you're not going to. You're going to continue to make the same mistakes. Anybody here says, Chris says, Erdnase 1902 says, I learn more from shows I bomb than shows that go perfect.
Lindsay with dropping bangers. Okay.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm glad we finally, bam, hit it.
You did it.
We still got time to screw this up. So don't worry.
We still got time to screw this one up.
It may go off the rails eventually, but
onto what you were talking about, Ryan. You perform how you rehearse, and if you rehearse, and that was something that a theater director told me very early on years ago. And it's like, if you rehearse just by yourself in a mirror, talking to an imaginary audience like it's a brick wall, it's very likely that you're going to go out on stage and talk to the audience like it's a mirror, like it's a brick wall. That's it, that isn't present with you and not be responsive to what they're saying. It just takes proper rehearsal and also having the chance to bomb. I just bombed the other night at a comedy club for one moment of the show, one routine that was newer, but I learned so much from it because it was a routine that I had done a lot in a close-up context and tried to convert it to stage, and it didn't translate to the audience at large. The members of the audience who were on stage with me came up with me afterwards and they were like, oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. Like that was a very special moment for us. And I was like, oh, wow. So it played like a close-up trick to them and they got it, but the audience didn't understand what was happening. It was too convoluted and confusing for the communal experience. And I learned a lot about, and it's totally changed how I script that routine, but it's like, you have to go out and try it and do it. And I wish that there were more places for magicians to be able to just get experience performing, other than like the cellar at the castle is kind of like the only place that I can think of, and I know that we have some interesting thoughts on the castle that maybe
We'll save that for hour 6.
Hour 6. Dan Phillips says this has nothing to do with magic. Just a little joke between
So Dan was referencing a comment that he posted right at the beginning, which was contact poison. So Dan was my middle school band director.
Nice.
And we had this running joke where we would try and come up with ways to murder each other covertly.
Yeah.
So it was James Bond inspired. What kind of gadget could we sort of improvise with one another in the moment? And every time we saw each other, and I was like, I saw him every day. So it was, what's the way that he's going to get me or I'm going to get him today? And the one that, we often came back to was contact poison. And it would just basically, whenever one of us would touch the other person, we would say contact poison. And it was just a silly little game that we would play.
Nice.
I haven't thought about that in years. So thank you for that, Dan, for coming on. Also, it's very weird to me to call you Dan because you're Mr. Phillips to me. So
Mr. Phillips.
Also, I apologize for the language.
Yeah, your detention's office for sure.
Yeah.
Principal's on detention's office. That's how long it's been since I've been in school. Here's one question that's interesting. It says, how do you guys feel about working for a while on just one trick that is for a camera only and not for the public, and then putting it up online and never doing it again?
Should I go first?
What do you guys think?
Working for a while, just one trick that is for camera only and not for a public, putting it up online and never doing it again. Okay, yeah.
Wait. What do you guys think I'm gonna say?
You're gonna say it's not art. Get the hell out of here if it's just for Instagram. No. It depends on what you're trying to evoke from that video, what you're trying to do. Again, if you want to make it the best, have other people view it beforehand, because again, like I said, you're going to have better insights from other people that view it, and you potentially going to change it. I'm not saying that, I understand that there's a social media game and that people are putting out content. And we've seen a lot of great guys that were really good at putting out a lot of great content in the past that have now changed to just putting out a lot of shit. And it's just put out content. And it's garbage content that everyone hates.
Here comes Lindsay in the comments.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Man, we're really pumping out a lot of content.
I already know what she said. But
you are a mentalism.
Yeah, they put out so much content that it's not great. And so I think, taking the time to put something out, for me, as long as you're putting out good, solid stuff, then that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know your opinions on magic on video, Elliott, but I imagine what I would predict that your thought would be, and you can let me know if I'm incorrect, would be that it depends on what it is that you are trying to create. Because you mentioned at the beginning that conjuring can be a tool in order to then create a larger piece of art. And I think if the medium by which you're trying to if you're trying to create a piece of art that is best presented in a video format, then if you spend a long time working on a piece of magic that is ideal for that larger work, then it's great. But if you're just doing a trick, then you're just doing a trick, and that's not necessarily artistic at all. What is your thought on this?
Here we go.
All right. So, yes, the intention matters, and fulfill your intention. The way that I read Tigger's comment is actually more about the putting it up and never doing it again. It's more about the practicing really hard to get something so that it looks really good for camera that may be very angle sensitive, and then putting it up just to put it up and then moving on. That's sort of how I read it, not necessarily like making a theatrical piece for video, any of that stuff. So like,
yeah, you might be getting the question more than we did.
So for me, Tigger, yeah, I think it's great. Like the whole notion of people getting butthurt about magicians putting magic tricks on social media is so silly to me. I mean, look, there are people who are putting out dumb shit that makes everybody look bad and dumbs down the population and we could blame Jabrizi for the state of the world if we wanted to. Not that I am, but I'm just saying we could.
No, we are.
It's a chicken and egg thing. Is it a symptom or is it the root cause? Who knows? But if you're like, look, for example, I have a color change that I do that is, when I'm not doing it very well, it's fairly angle sensitive. When I'm hitting it, it's pretty covered. But I don't really do it for people. I mean, sometimes, and especially if they're a magician, I'll be like, hey, this is neat, look at this. But mostly I do it on video. And that's fine. Who cares? If you're going to film something, make sure it looks good.
Yeah.
But that, to me, is sort of in your question is, how do you feel about working on one thing for the camera only, not for public, putting it up and never doing it again? Great. Put it up. You did it. Move on. There's a video on my Instagram from, I don't know, probably when I was in college. So, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. And it's a color change. Again, it's a color change. And I've never done it since. Never. But it looks good.
It was the one with the crane and stuff, like that you brought in the crane and the cables and that color change?
No. That was
with the plexiglass.
No. That was after college. This is before that. So this would have been that's a good one. It didn't get as many views as I wanted. No, this one actually involved. Yeah, look, are we allowed to share magic secrets on the thing? I don't know what.
It is late. I mean,
it's late. Yeah, okay, people here are probably interested in magic. Okay, so this involved 12. It was for a color change, right? So if you're watching and you don't know what a color change is, it's when one card turns into another card. A transformation, if you will. And so this one involved, you've probably seen the videos on TikTok of people doing showing how a thing, where they'll do a thing and then they'll show how it works, and it's people running around. I was doing that before anybody else. It was just for color change. So I had 2 cards and I was holding them as if they were one card, right? So the camera looks up at me and it looks down, and I'm just holding this, right? And it looks back up at me and I wink. And right then, my college roommate is in the other room with fishing line attached to the first card in my hand. And when I wink at the camera, that was his cue to yank on the fishing line, and he pulled that top card away. And when I wink, then the person filming would come back down. What they didn't notice, the people viewing, was that my entire outfit had changed. And there were a lot more people involved in it. To me, it's not something that I want to reveal because I'll probably publish it one day in Vanish magazine or something. But that was something that I just did for camera.
Nice. Love it. Well, do you think
was this a made-up story?
Yeah, that was a made-up story. None of that.
Okay,
none of it is true. It's a really cool sleight of hand trick.
100% true. Yeah.
It was very angle sensitive, though.
It was very angle sensitive.
It was
the whole moment when they ripped off both layers and your whole crotch was exposed, and then somebody had to put your pants back on mid-color change.
No, that was an outtake. The take that we actually used did not, because I was wearing rip-off pants. I had
airways.
I actually have a funny story about rip-off pants that also involves a band. But
one time at band camp.
No, it was at a pep rally. I went to a high school that was it was like state champion football high school. And on Fridays before the football games, we would do pep rally. The whole school would fill up the gym. And then the cheerleaders and the dancers and the whatever and and they would all perform. And we would have musicians come in. It was crazy. But they're part of the marching band. A small section of the top players was called the Boogie Band. And the Boogie Band was, a group of 10 of us. And we played basically this one fucking song. And I played the mellophone, which is the marching equivalent of a French horn. So it looks like a trumpet, but it sounds like a French horn. And the song that we played, I would start the song. So the first part is the melody of the song, basically, and I would come out and I would play it. Because I started the song, I was the leader of the Boogie Band. And so it was my bright idea on this huge pep rally game in the playoffs to get everybody to get rip-off pants. Because the song that we would play was basically a series of solos. So I would come out and do a solo, and then trumpet would come out and do a solo, and then trombone would do a solo, and then euphonium would do a solo, and then we would finish the big thing, right? And so the bit was everybody would get their pants ripped off during their solo. And I'll just say that the trombone player got pantsed in front of 2,000 high school kids.
Nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
My band director, my high school band director always said, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so that was one of those times where I was like, look, this is advice you gave us.
So that guy either after or none for the rest of his life. Whoever the trombone player was. Depends if he had a tromboner or not, I guess. Bad band joke. Bad band joke. But
like how you started your story of the color change, and you went, there were 12, and then you never readdressed what there were 12 of, because it was fly by night. It was
well, you look. So I was just listening to JB Smoove on a podcast, and he was talking about improvising on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he said that one of the things that he will do, because Curb Your Enthusiasm is a heavily improvised show. We want to talk about scripting. That show is like, there are beats, but these people are just fucking having a conversation, and they're very funny and talented. And JB was talking about how his character will either go with whatever Larry David is doing, or he'll go against it, which is, I mean, that's just standard.
100% of the options.
That's also true. But he said one of his tactics for if he's not feeling really quick, if he's not able to improvise a response, he will relay some information about his own character and not comment on it. So to speak to what you were saying, Blaze, about how I mentioned there were 12 and then just moved on and didn't finish what I was saying. Part of that is I was going to say, there are 12 people helping me out, and it was this elaborate, but then in the moment I was like, but then I'm going to have to come up with a method that involves 12 extras. I'm not going to do it in my head. So I just moved on. But that you remembered it is part of the relaying information. So JB Smoove would say, he'll, if he's in a conversation with Larry about how to fix the plumbing, he'll say something about how, he worked with a guy when he shot a porno, blah, 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 blah. And then just move on from it and just, relay this information and move on like it's nothing. Yeah. And then that gives you something to come back to later on. So if I had, 2 hours from now come up with if you hadn't brought it back up and I had come up with a method in that time of having 12 extras for this color change, that would have been a time for me to weave it back into the conversation.
Nice.
Now we've just shown how the sausage gets made. We've just burned the artifice down.
But
I think red maybe ?
I was going to say, do you think it's that time?
I think it might be that time.
I don't know.
What does that mean? I don't know what this is. God, I hate this. I hate not knowing. What is it? Tell me now.
It's time we get to know you a little bit better.
It's a little time to get to know you.
Who you are.
All right. Well, I wasn't expecting to have to do this, but
take it off.
Take it off. And it's time for...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, it's time for 20 questions. It's time for 20 questions. Yeah, put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Put 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
That theme song is entirely too long.
No,
it gets longer.
Part
It gets
about
so much worse. Now you have
RB
minutes to
Oh.
answer questions.
All right, lay it on me. Come on, speed round. Let's go.
All right, so you're gonna have 2 minutes. We're gonna go back and forth, rapid fire questions. We want your best, most quality, good, honest answers. No, like you for every answer, because we've had that before. And we'll see how many you can get through.
Okay, before we start this, the 2-minute thing, I'm just letting you know, like, because I have terrible memory recall, it's we're going to need more than 2 minutes. I'm going to try and answer the questions as quickly as possible and as honestly as possible, but I have a hard time fetching things. So if this is who's most inspirational
you are our
to you,
first guest to have 2 minutes and 9 seconds on the clock,
There
because I
you go.
gave a couple extra seconds so that there wouldn't be any lag. All right, you feeling ready, Elliott?
I have to pee. Let's do it.
Your time starts now.
Dream vacation destination.
Fuck. See, this is just not. It's not going to work. Let's say an island off the coast of Greece.
Biggest pet peeve.
Chewing with your mouth open.
Biggest mistake during a performance.
Eric Mead can never cut to that damn card.
What always makes
That's
you
the
laugh?
first, maybe not the biggest. What always makes me laugh? There is an image online of a Gina Butterpelli, which is it's just
you can't even get through it.
No. All right, Blaze. While he's asking me questions, I need you to look up Gina Butterbelly, and you'll find the image. It's a guy holding a Gina Butterbelly sandwich like this. It's 4 squares of him making one and holding it. And I'm going to need you to throw that up so that people could see it at home, because it never fails to make me fucking die. Okay. What are
Secret talent.
4?
5. Secret talent.
Secret talent. I can sing.
Nice. First time you ever saw a magic trick?
I probably watching The Late Show with David Letterman.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
The ability to control time.
Dream performance venue.
Your mom's bedroom. Jesus, I don't know. Maybe the Globe Theater. I don't know. I don't perform. I don't give a shit.
Most cherished memory.
Can we skip this question? There's just no. I can't. Maybe meeting my partner. Actually.
So, favorite food.
I don't know. Fucking pizza.
Favorite movie.
There's so many. The one that comes to my mind first is the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Nice. And we ran out of 2 minutes, but let's do this. What was the worst job you ever had?
The worst job I ever had was unloading UPS trucks.
I worked at UPS as well. I didn't mind it, but we had a really great group of guys. I did it when I was in university, and is at 3:00 in the morning, which sucked. But the guys I worked with, some of them I still run into. We chat and share stories and stuff. We had a lot of fun.
I was also in university, and there was nobody to help me. I was one person unloading 2 18-wheelers.
So I do remember that guy, because every once in a while we would get. So I was out on the runway, so I'd bring planes in and go up in the airplanes and stuff. So I had the cooler job there, which you actually got paid more because you were outside working with planes, so it's a little bit more dangerous, I guess. But I remember the guy that had to unload the 2 tractor trailers that came in, because every once in a while they'd be like, someone's missing over there today. Could you guys go over there? And after a little while working there, I was like, we're unionized, right? So no, I'm not going to go and do that guy's job. Screw that. He's not, because no one else, that was the thing, is we could do all the inside jobs, but no one from the inside could ever come outside, because they would have to go through a whole week of training and stuff just to be able to go outside because of all the extra dangers and stuff. So after a little while, I was like, no, I'm going to go to sleep on this bench right here until that airplane comes in. So But
yeah,
that
job was terrible.
Sandwich pick. I cannot find the sandwich pick. I don't even know what a Gina Putter Belly is.
Look! It's like peanut butter jelly. God damn it!
Oh wait, G-nut. You're saying
Yes.
G-nut, not Gina?
Yeah.
Oh,
so the lights in my office just went off, and I'm gonna I control them with my phone. This is the one time my partner hates that we control the lights with the phone, and this is the one time she's right. Because I'm gonna have to move my I'm using my phone as my camera, so like it's not great. But just bear with me.
How you spell G-nut. Okay, I'm getting closer. Dude.
Just good. This will give my ears a 2-second break because headphones get brutal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I've seen. You're not talking about a guy eating it, right? Or are you talking about
No.
Oh, okay. It's just this?
No. God damn it.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what happens when you leave him up to doing something.
Yeah. Okay.
Lindsay, let's see the comments.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so here. G-nut Putter Belly sandwich.
Okay, look, the second row, second picture.
Second row, second picture. This one?
That's the one, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the one that
blow it up real big. Blow it up real big. That, to me,
I don't know if it's gonna get
is the funniest thing on the internet. And it just doesn't, it really doesn't. God, it's so funny. Then he flips it over. Look, what's happening in my mind, okay, this is the funniest thing in the world to me. If I think about it, I will laugh hysterically. What does it for me are so many things. First of all, that it exists, number one. Just baseline, that it exists is hilarious. And if you think it's not, you're just wrong. That it exists is funny. Second, I imagine the thought process behind making it. Like, how would this happen? Okay, somebody has to. Yes, Tigger, you hate it. You're right. So the thought process is you don't know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you do it the only wrong way that you can. That is very funny to me. So somebody messing up is very funny in a way that gets you sticky. Third is that now, the person who is taking the picture is now covered in peanut butter and jelly for the purpose of this bit, which is very funny to me. Then you have the actual aesthetic of the thing, which I find really very funny. And to top it off, that he took pictures of both sides. Yeah. Also, there's like a kinesthetic thing happening of like, I can feel what it would feel like to hold it. It just is a full body tickler. I mean, that just really does it for me. I mean, good God.
I would like to.
All the stuff that. Go ahead, please.
I would like to share my Google search history of trying to find this because I had no idea what you were talking about. So I first searched Gina Putter Belly and I get golf shit.
Oh my God.
And I go to Gina Putter Belly sandwich and I'm looking at this woman eating a sandwich in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I thought that you were saying that the funny part was a guy eating it. So then I have so many searches. Then I saw that something was called puffer belly, so I just assumed you had mispronounced it. So I look up after Gina Putter Belly, which I guess is a woman. I see that there's Puffer Belly's food and ice cream. So then I look up Puffer Belly, Gina Puffer Belly sandwich.
Yeah.
And then I end up getting. Let me go to my history. I end up finding.
Look, comment section. If you happen to be watching the video and you happen to open a new tab and Google, what did you Google when I said Gina Putter Belly?
Yeah.
I'm curious about what other people.
Because I did see Fiddlin' Johnny says, spell it for us, Elliott.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
Like peanut butter jelly, but.
Anyway. Now everybody is watching, the start of this podcast when you were giving all the critiques on art and stuff, and they're totally changing their mind. They're like, this guy thinks that's funny. I'm messing.
Look, I contain multitudes, okay? I'm a complicated individual.
Yeah. Gina Putter Belly.
I love it. Yeah, I was looking. Yeah, Gino Butterpelly, and I'm looking up Pufferbelly's Food and Ice Cream Station in Fairmont, West Virginia, trying to find a guy eating some complex sandwich. But then once you were like, "Oh, it's like peanut butter jelly," it was like, "Oh."
I like this.
So stupid.
Blaze's targeted ads from now on will be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all for women with sandwich names.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That was fun. Let's do more questions.
You like those?
Well, put another timer on. This is my podcast now.
Well, we do have quite a few more because you have set the record, I think, for least questions.
No. That was Kenner. No, Kenner and Kenner and Brent Braun tied last week.
Tied for the lead. What was the question that they got to? Was it
11 favorite movies they both ended on?
Wow, they didn't even get the worst job.
No. Well, Elliott didn't either.
We also did go over time.
Yeah, Elliott didn't either,
wow, so you tied the lowest amount of questions.
3 weeks in a row we've had the 11 bar hit.
I'm starting to think it's an us problem.
I don't know. No, the questions are coming fast. Fast and furious.
Yeah,
all right, so we're going to spend more time talking about how we didn't answer the questions, or can I answer some more questions?
Oh, he's getting really
he's getting feisty
now. Look at that.
Okay. Well, he's not going to like purple then.
No, he's not. Ladies and gentlemen, you better stay tuned for purple.
We're only past red. We're so early on.
We should still bring black back. Black was pretty fun too.
Black was really fun, and I would be interested in Elliott's response.
Yeah. Do we still have it on here?
I mean, we can, of course.
We should bring it up for him. Okay, so Elliott.
Yes.
Oh, Blaze, you asked the next question.
All right. Who is your favorite magician?
Can you ask a more specific question?
What is the name of your favorite magician?
The lean-in was great.
Yeah.
What is the first and last name of your favorite magician?
Gosh, that's really tough. I have a lot of different favorites for a lot of different styles and things. Whatever itch I need scratched, I have different folks that I appreciate.
If you could bring a DVD of one of them on a deserted island, who would it be?
Oh, I wouldn't pick a magician. Are you kidding me?
No, you have to stay alive.
If I had to bring a DVD, is the DVD like a teaching material DVD, or is it just their show?
Yeah, Blu-ray, just their show.
Just their show?
Bootleg.
It's got to be. Look, if it's just the show, it's got to be Doug Audio.
Nice.
It's just the show's the show.
Yeah. All right. If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd buy?
Ooh. More wishes. No, wait. If I won the lottery, what?
It's not a genie.
Yeah, the first thing, if I won the lottery, the first thing that I would buy for myself or for other people, or just the first thing?
Okay, first thing.
I'm not good with generality. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, so I need hyper-specific tasks. So this general question is difficult for me.
Born with it.
Well, I was also born with it.
Diagnosed years ago.
Self-diagnosed.
Yeah.
The first thing that I would buy is probably a brownstone in New York.
Hot rod stick. Yeah. Just a lifetime supply of hot rods.
That's it. All right.
If you could remake any movie and star in it, what would it be?
You know what? I wouldn't remake a movie. I would remake a TV show, and it would be The Blacklist. And I would play Raymond Reddington in The Blacklist, and I would remake it so that it was good.
Skipped one, so Ryan.
I saw you skipped one. What's your most highly recommended magic product or book?
Fuck. The most highly recommended book for... Look, The most highly recommended thing that I can give you that is like a fairly recent thing is John Wilson's You, Me, and the Devil Makes 3. I love that book. A lot of tricks that I do are in that book. I think that he's like a real wizard. Like I relate to him as if he goes around doing real magic for people, because he does. So that's something that I would recommend that's recent. If we're going a little more old school, you can never go wrong with Stars of Magic or Sack's Sleight of Hand. If we're going like recent past, I would say Hollingworth's Drawing Room Deceptions is a terrific card book. And as far as like a magic product goes, I don't know. Get a good set of cups and balls. Fucking, I don't know. I use cards. Who cares?
Yeah.
The Monte Carlo playing cards on allaccessmagic.com/shop.
10%
That's
off.
right.
10% off. Oh, for the next 72 hours? Oh.
And if you're a patron, 20 to 30% off, which is even crazier.
Oh.
Guys, this is my time. You had 2 minutes at the beginning of the show to pitch stuff. This is my time.
Oh, we got an ad read coming up. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
Would you rather feel like a potato or look like a potato?
Well, currently I'm both. So, next question.
Nice. Favorite toy growing up?
Oh Jesus. You know, it's not a specific toy, but category of thing that was my favorite thing growing up, aside from like Nintendo consoles, were swords. I collected swords when I was a kid, like real metal swords, and I would get neighborhood kids and my friends to come over and just beat the shit out of each other,
Chop each other's arms off.
Yeah, I have Gandalf's sword, and I have Excalibur, and I have the Master Sword from Ocarina of Time, like a bunch of, I just fucking love swords.
Nice.
And canes and staves and anything that was like remotely fantasy related really did it for me.
And the best question of the night.
The best.
Favorite sports team?
It's not a team, but my favorite athlete is probably Rafael Nadal.
Nice. Tennis
Who just beat the record for number of Grand Slam wins. He was tied with Federer and Djokovic and is now number one.
One ahead. Nice. All great, 3 great tennis players. So
Totally.
I would give you that. At least you knew an athlete by name. 3.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, well, I would have said Rafa, but people don't know who that is. So.
Yeah.
Tennis
I would have known who it is. Yeah.
But the fact that you know about sports is already admirable, and I think that's.
We have hit the limit of what I know about sports.
Right there. Now we have our 21st question, which is there any book or audiobook that you have listened to recently that you highly recommend outside of the magic sphere? But is there
totally, absolutely, just a whole bunch. God, I love Audible. I really enjoy reading, but I also really enjoy listening to people perform the written word. So I fucking smashed Neil Gaiman's Sandman. So it was like an Audible production of Sandman, and Neil narrates it. So I've listened to a bunch of Neil's books, and I think he's a terrific writer, and I like reading them as well as listening to them because he narrates them. But Sandman was unbelievable. The cast was terrific. The production value was amazing. I tore through it. It was something like, I don't know, 30. There are 2 parts, 2 or 3 parts, something like 30 or 40 hours, and I went through it in a handful of days, less than a week. It was so good.
Nice.
Wow, that's great. Well,
I also listened to a lot of nonfiction on Audible. Now, take it away.
You knew it was coming. Well, yes, so The Sandman is on Audible, and if you'd like to listen to this incredible audiobook for free, you guys can go to audibletrial.com/magic and get a free trial of Audible.
Wow,
And
you got /magic. That's
You
heavy. That's not
How do you
nothing.
like that, right? No.
That's not nothing.
Magic.
Wow.
Yeah.
audibletrial.com/magic, and you can get a free trial. Listen to this incredible audiobook and expand your brain and be entertained. It's we always are. The thing is that we were constantly recommending books and audiobooks. Ryan and I tend to listen to audiobooks way more than we actually read. It's much more efficient with your time, especially if you're driving or doing something else. And so we found ourselves recommending audiobooks almost every week with our different guests. And we were like, why don't we try and get sponsored by Audible? And now it's happened. So audibletrial.com/magic, and you can help support the show. And you don't have to pay anything. You just get to get some free books, or audiobooks. So
here's 2 recommendations I would give as well. Fanatical prospecting. If you're a guy that wants to hustle to book shows and get out there in the magic and make it a career, and Atomic Habits. Both fantastic books.
I'm sorry, what was the second one?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Got it. Habits, yep.
Okay.
Both fantastic. Gone through both of them. If you really want just a motivational one, I think the guy is nuts, but it's a motivational one that'll kick your ass into gear, is the 10X rule.
That's great. Yeah. I'd like to also recommend from actually a previous client of mine, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty is a very good book, and learn about meditation. And I also recommended previously, the most recent audiobook that I've listened to is Vivid Vision by Cameron Harold, and highly recommend that for mapping out your life for the next 3 years, as well as any business ventures that you may have, especially for entrepreneurial minded people. So
that was a long sentence right there. Entrepreneurial. Say that again? I don't think you could say it 3 times fast.
Let's rewind.
Now let's get back into the serious questions with Elliott. So Elliott, we were talking about something beforehand, and I thought it was really interesting before Blaze came on, and it was about what magicians wear on stage, and the story that it tells with what you're wearing. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because I know we were talking about it for a couple seconds, and then we said this will be good.
Yeah, fashion do's and don'ts with Elliott Terral.
Well, it really ties back into what we were talking about earlier, which is that, it deals with scripting. It deals with having other people be part of your team. The idea that you care about and are putting the work into the audience's experience or the participants' experience, that includes what they have to look at the whole time, right? So there are sort of 2 schools of thought, with a few exceptions, in magic. It's either green is my theme, and everything that I have is green, everything that I wear is green. Green may not be a good example, because I think there is actually a guy.
There's a couple guys.
Purple.
Yeah, or purple or whatever. And they go, that's my thing. And like, okay, could you have done any less work? It's like, first of all, it's great that you thought about, what should I wear? You know what? Good for you. You thought about it. And then you immediately stopped. You went, what should I wear? Green. Done. All right. I'm not okay with that. And your audience probably isn't either. Oh, that's my best friend. I love him. That's my brother. So like, that's one school of thought, is this is my theme and that's it. And then the other school of thought is I'm just wearing what I'm wearing, or I'm going to go to Zara or H&M and get a skinny suit, or Ted Baker. God, fuck Ted Baker. And get, a skinny little, I'm a magician. Like, oh my God. Homer just went and saw Shin and Colin in Vegas, and he posted a picture of them, and they both look fucking ridiculous. They look so goddamn stupid in their clothes. It's like, It's like they bought what they thought a grown-up magician would wear when they were 14 and are still wearing the same shit. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just ill-fitting, and it's just tactless, tasteless. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I didn't mean to call out those specific guys.
As someone who used to work on the show, just like to say,
they're workers of the show.
I think that Colin also, because he is portraying a persona of being Sherlock Holmes, tends to dress in a certain way that is not at all how he dresses as a person. He's portraying a character with his outfit, but I also wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily say that there aren't ways that he could improve at portraying that character with maybe better fitting clothes or whatever came to your mind, Elliott, as someone who is more versed in this topic.
Yeah, sure. And this is also just a picture that I saw. I have seen Colin perform and him do his Sherlock Holmes thing, and he's wearing very British / UK, Scottish. He's wearing stuff that is appropriate. I don't like how it's tailored, but I get it. This most recent picture, that wasn't that. It was like, a black skinny suit or whatever.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so out the window. I tried to give him an out.
No, nope. I could be confabulating, but I just remember how I felt about the image, which was, I know what he does. That's not what he does, and that looks bad. And for Shin, so much of what he does is aesthetically driven. I mean, everything that he does is like a pose and a wave, and and it's all very like over the top melodramatic. And then he's wearing like this, shitty outfit that he looks like he bought at a combination of Goodwill and, the Coach outlet. Like, it just,
nice.
It just,
And like, could you? Okay, so
in that one AGT, like, you can afford to buy clothes.
True. And so I think that's a thing that many people don't know how to dress properly. And we had a question way back early in the night, like an hour ago, which was Adam Parisi saying, "What's the most common suit or outfit mistake you see magicians make?" And maybe what you addressed was the idea of like just picking a color and going, "I'm the green guy." But I'd love to hear some of those don'ts, and also like a little bit less general, maybe, of like, what advice specifically would you give those two performers or magicians in general about how to dress on stage?
Sure. Well, look, I mean, it ultimately comes back to, can you pull his question back up, Blaze? Yeah. Common suit or outfit mistake. Look, ultimately it comes back to intention. Who is your character? Even if your character is just you or an elevated version of you, who is that person? That's important, because you want to address that for an audience. Again, you look at comedy, and not the first thing, but within 3 minutes of a comedian being on stage, especially if they're reaching an audience that they don't typically reach, the first thing, or one of the first things that they do, is address what the audience is seeing. So, like, one of my favorite comedians is Pete Holmes. He opens his show talking about how he looks like lesbian Val Kilmer. Like, he's addressing the audience's experience. Now, magicians can learn a lot from that, but you don't necessarily have to do that sort of one-to-one, I know what you're thinking, this kind of thing. Although that is a funny premise for a mentalism bit, or a mentalism joke. But, like, as I mentioned earlier, your audience is taking in all of the information in front of them. So, like, a common suit or outfit mistake is just not taking the time to consider what information you want to convey. Like, if you are trying to communicate that you are a real, like, Lord of the Rings kind of wizard, then you should dress and talk and act like Kim Silverman. And you should perform in a hut on the outskirts of the woods. And you should give the people who come to your show mushrooms or ayahuasca. Like, you should do that. that's taking it to an extreme, but like the intention is, this is the experience you're going to have, and I'm going to give it to you. And you take in, basically, if you're not considering your wardrobe as part of your set design, then that's the biggest mistake that you can make. And as part of your character design, like there are teams of people that spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in television and film on wardrobe for shows. Like, you think clothing isn't a part of the story? Wake the fuck up. So the biggest mistake is just not considering it. It's just not thinking about what it is that you're trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Now, if we want to get more specific about, like, ways that people just aren't necessarily educated about clothing, is that there are a few things. The first is that, like, it's really hard to know what fits. Which is why it's important to have somebody who's really knowledgeable help you with that. Because, like, I do made-to-measure tailoring, and sometimes when I'm working with somebody for the first time, like this happened to me recently, I was fitting a magician, and he said, well, this is my size. And I said, I don't care what your size is. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. I didn't say it like that. I'm a better salesperson than that. But the message was, everything that you brought into this room regarding what you think is right, toss it out the window. I care about your preferences and how you like for things to fit. But if you know that you're a 38 regular, that information does not mean anything to me, because I am looking at what is in front of me, and we are going to talk about proportions. We're going to talk about maybe things that you're insecure about or really proud of, the way that you like to wear things, what the aesthetic is or the inspiration is for what you're going for. There's so many presentation points in crafting the thing. So, for example, like, the sort of common wisdom, the common knowledge that people get, and even if you type it into Google, like, how does a suit fit? The response that you get is, oh, it should fit in the shoulders, and it should, whatever. And you look at any red carpet photo shoot, and most of the guys on there, the shoulders fit in the jackets, but the chest is way too small and it's gaping up like this, or the sleeves are a weird length, or when they're standing, their pant leg is swooping a whole bunch and it looks really baggy back behind their ass. Like, these are fit issues. They're not circumference issues. It's about posture. It's about figuration. So when we talk about fit, we're not just talking about, does it literally fulfill its duty of covering your body? I'm interested in how the fabric hangs off of the frame. I'm interested in whether or not there are interruptions in the fabric as it falls towards the ground. And when I say interruptions, I mean, like, wrinkles. Like, if you see wrinkles on one side of the jacket that aren't happening on the other, that's a posture issue. One of the shoulders is high or low, and whoever tailored the suit or made the suit didn't take that into account.
Yep.
So, like, you can take a $200 suit and make it look like a $1,000 suit with tailoring, with alterations at a tailor, getting it hemmed, doing a little taper on the leg, potentially making sure the sleeves are the right length, making sure that it closes around you. But if you're not fitting particular parts of your body well, then it's really difficult to get something very clean. The other thing that I'll say is that if you find that you have a difficult time going into a store and putting something on that is ready to wear, that is, you walk in and you pick it up and you try it on, and you're not happy with it, with how it fits, how it makes you feel, that's okay. And you're right, because in a capitalistic society, all of these ready-to-wear pieces are made to be as generic as possible. They are not made to fit well. They are made to fit everyone. So here's a very extreme example of that. There's been a rise in the salesmanship, the advertising of comfort stretch fabrics. So like, everybody has stretchy jeans or leggings or, like people are making garments that don't look like they're stretchy, but they are.
Yep.
They tell you that that's about comfort. It's not. It's actually really easy to be comfortable in clothes that fit correctly.
Yeah.
They make stretchy clothes so that they can make it more generic, so that it's easier to fit more people. It's just about money. They don't give a shit about you. They don't care about how you feel in it. And they sell it to you as you're going to be more comfortable. But you know what the problem with that is? You wear pajamas to sleep. You don't wear pajamas to the office. There's a mindset that you get into when you put on something, even if it doesn't fit well, but it has a purpose. A suit makes you feel a particular way when you put it on. It's derived from a military uniform. The uniform was meant to make you feel like part of something bigger than yourself, more powerful than yourself. These articles of clothing are talismans for power, for how we relate to the world. And if you want to just fucking sit in your PJs all day, then do that. But like, don't make me look at you while you do it. That you should be embarrassed by that.
All right, I'm going to change my T-shirt. Okay, frick, I'll put the suit back on.
Dressing
I'm
well.
currently wearing a compression shirt that's like for the gym.
I was going to wear a suit for the episode tonight, but I thought we were doing a 5-minute video segment beforehand so I could go and get changed, or 10 minutes, so I thought I could go and get changed, and it didn't happen, so I stuck with the black T-shirt. Sorry, Elliott.
Look, dressing well is a show of respect for yourself and for the people around you. Now, that's not to say... All of that is not to say that a black T-shirt and black jeans and black sneakers is wrong. I'm not saying that you should wear a suit. I'm not communicating that at all. What I am saying is that you should dress for how you want to be perceived. So, for example, David Blaine will go on The Tonight Show, for example, okay? And he'll wear a black T-shirt and black jeans. Sometimes he'll wear a black button-down, unbuttoned with his sleeves rolled up, right? Why does he do that? He could afford to wear a suit. It doesn't make sense for David Blaine to wear a suit. The guy that fucking hangs from in a box for 40 days eating his own shit, and the guy that wants to be eaten by sharks or whatever, it doesn't make sense for him to wear a suit. The guy that's literally spitting up frogs into a glass, if he's wearing a suit, it's not jiving. Yeah. Also, the things that he does are so extreme that anything that is bold is going to detract from the moment he's trying to create. So a black T-shirt and black jeans for David Blaine doing what David Blaine does makes perfect sense and is totally acceptable. And he looks great. I have no problem with that. But if you're not doing David Blaine shit and your name isn't David Blaine, maybe try and figure out who you are and how that character dresses and what that character is intending to evoke from an audience. Because all of these little tiny pieces add up and they make a difference for your audience experience, ultimately it will make a difference for your bottom line and how many gigs you're booking and how much money you're making. Fucking Steve Cohen, the millionaire's magician, performs at Warren Buffett's birthday party he dresses like the millionaire magician. His show was at the Lottie Palace, and before that it was at the Waldorf Astoria. He built this entire universe in which he could non-ironically call himself the millionaire's magician. And you know what? It paid off. Yep. So considering all of these different aspects, including your wardrobe, as part of the universe that you're creating in which magical things happen, seems like a no-brainer, and yet people just don't They don't think about it. So that's the biggest mistake. To get back to the question, what's the biggest outfit mistake?
Yeah, I remember
for example, I'm sorry, wait. For example, the show that I ripped into Blaze about, he looked like if Edward Cullen was cosplaying as a vampire.
Yeah, dude, it was rough. And literally, it was bad. It was bad. And I pulled it up, and it was because, and also like a lot of magicians will wear ill-fitting clothes that are so that they can do steals and things or whatever for like dove magic or whatever they're trying to do. This was certainly a thing that I just got a piece of clothing for a method, and then I've realized that the method itself was stupid and shouldn't have dictated my clothing so much. But I can pull up the picture, and yeah, it was whack. So yeah. So I needed the widest peak lapels.
I need that to be full screen.
I was doing.
Yeah,
I wanted really wide peak lapels to conceal something I was doing, and it helped for the.
What is that collar though? Like you have your collar popped?
Yeah, the collar is up. It's like a tuxedo collar, but like
the collar and the tie knot was really what I had a problem with. I love a wide lapel.
My Trinity
I don't have
knot.
a problem.
You roasted my Trinity knot, and you were like, that's just dumb. That just distracts.
That lapel that's a very wide lapel though.
I like that lapel. I don't mind the lapel. Yeah. I think if the rest of the jacket fit you, it would look really cool.
Do you think the lapels
in general? But okay, so let's do like fashion shoes and don'ts. All right. Because I'm totally willing to roast me of the past because I've already been roasted for it and it impacted my fashion. So one, the tie knot, doing a ridiculous.
Can we make that any bigger?
Yeah, let me see if I can save this image no, it's going to be as a web page. Let me see if there's a way I can.
I just love your face in that picture. Like it's not that long ago, but you still look like such a young boy.
I mean, it's 2018. So. Let me see. And then, that's not it. All right. Well, this is what it was open.
Look at his fucking shoes. Come on.
He's look at shoes. He's look at his fucking shoes, bro.
I love this white shirt. I love this. Oh, that's it. That's what I was talking about.
It's even worse with the white shirt. This is when you roasted me.
Terrible.
Boy.
Wait, go back to the...
So it's like a vampire collar.
I love this comment on the side that says "shoe game on point."
I haven't worn the shoes since either. So all right.
But you do still own them. Okay, great.
I think that they might be in storage somewhere. Now let's talk about. Okay, so obviously the collar being up and popped that way, I thought was unique and different. But does look rather vampire-y when you put it that way.
It looks like you have no neck. It's just your head is
okay. Sure. So I'm curious. You already said I got this jacket for a method.
Yeah.
Which is your first mistake. But you have acknowledged that. Tell me about everything else. Why did you make the choices that you made? Not because, look, I'm not here to shit on you some more. I mean, I'm going to just because it'll be funny. But like, I really want to understand where you were coming from because I do think that this needs to be a productive conversation because I think it will be helpful for people. You know, this kind of conversation around clothing as a piece of the set design, as a piece of the character design, is not happening in Magic.
So this was this was, I think, where I was. This is while I was still in the transition and definitely not out of it of feeling as though I needed to dress a certain way in order to project the Magic persona or whatever. And so I think that obviously the shoes are representative of that. And then when you roasted my Trinity knot, I literally only knew how to do ridiculous creative knots and did not know how to do like a proper Windsor, or what you recommended was just a 4-in-hand knot, a very simple knot that ended up looking much more aesthetic. So there was that, and I think that I was just trying to be different and unique and not necessarily letting my work just speak for itself and the magic be the thing that was different and unique, and feeling like I needed to portray myself a certain way that was dressing like unlike other people. So I guess I think the uniqueness was what I was stressing, but original does not mean good. and So I would love to. Yeah. So now you can tear into me. That was my justification for it, though.
Look, there's nothing for me to tear into. You said everything, right? Is that you were trying to look. I get the decisions that you made. You wanted to be unique. I mean, a lot of this also comes from confidence, right? I mean, it's oh gosh, this is
also
Future
my
Stars
first time
Week at the
performing
Magic Castle. It's my first time
I need
performing.
to
Yeah,
dress at the castle. Like I need to dress a certain way at the castle, like all tucked up. I just screenshotted it so we can really get a nice zoom in on that. I think hopefully.
what is this?
I'm trying to see
Microsoft
if I've
Paint?
got a.
I just did a snipping tool. Is there? How do you use snipping tool, bro? I don't know. All right. Well, we'll figure it out.
So, like I said, there and as you said, there's a lot of confidence issues that come into this. It's Future Stars Week. It's my first time performing at the Magic Castle. I want to look like I'm playing the part, right? I don't want people to look at me and disregard me because I don't look enough like a magician. There's a lot of insecurity inside of that, which I totally understand. You want to feel like you look the part. I get that. And if we're being perfectly honest, I like that you saved it as suit bad.
It's called suitbad.jpg.
If we're being perfectly honest, you succeeded. You look like a fucking magician.
I kind of was thinking like really cheesy pen salesman, like
that's
no,
fine.
I'm just
salesman.
Pen salesman, yeah.
You know, so
look at Zach Davidson looking like a proper gentleman, looking like an actual human.
Yeah, I mean, Zach looks fine. Here's what I think you got right. Okay, let's start with that. Here's what I think you got right. I think, and this will be quick. I think I like the wide peak lapel. I like the formality of that, right? You wanted to look like you belonged on stage. I like the formality of the big, wide tuxedo peak lapel. I wore a tuxedo when I performed at the castle. It was a midnight blue, black satin shawl collar tuxedo. I wore studs and a bow tie. I did the whole thing.
By the way, I had multiple people tell me after they saw your set at the castle that when the moment you walked out on stage, it was like you had this aura about you where everything was so polished and perfected, and they said that you were the best dressed person in the entire building. So that was just genuinely what people told me.
That's very nice. Thank you for telling me that. They didn't say that to me. They didn't say bad things. They just didn't say anything. So that's the first I've heard of it. I appreciate it. So I like that you were like, I'm going to dress up. I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to do the best thing that I can. And at the time, that meant I'm going to look like a magician who performs at the Magic Castle. And so I would say you succeeded on all levels. And there's learning to be done, right? Yeah. So the full black thing, you know, it's just uninteresting. I mean, it's supposed to be mysterious, but like to me, mystery is in questions, not in answers, right? I look at that, I don't have any questions. I go, oh, okay, he bought that all at one time. You know what I mean? I look at that and I go, this was all in one plastic bag and it was $29.99.
It was not.
It was $39. Be quiet.
So, like, I like things
stores, but it was one day.
I like things that have a story.
How hard it was to find a peak lapel this ridiculously large. I went to every store in the mall.
Yeah.
And it didn't pay off.
Change your method, bro.
Like I said, I don't have too many problems with the jacket. I mean, it doesn't fit you very well, but it's also, you know, you're a very slight guy, and in order to get those big peak lapels, you needed a very oversized shoulder, which meant that you had to go for a longer jacket, et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking ready to wear. I mean, we wouldn't have any of those problems, but the idea of doing all black, there's no mystery there. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, it's not, oh, wow, that's a really beautiful X, Y, and Z, or that's really interesting. And these are not things that people are thinking consciously. But texture plays a really important role. And if everything is the same color and more or less the same texture, like that looks like a satin cotton shirt, and you're wearing a satin silk tie, and you have a satin lapel, it's all sort of blending in with one another to the point of the person viewing it going, all right, I get it. Who cares? But if there's some difference in texture, people are going to be drawn to that. And ultimately, it's just like an innate human thing of like, what does that feel like? You know, if you're playing with texture and you have people who want to touch the thing that you're wearing, you're building a literal human connection into their experience of you. And if you're performing casually and people want to touch you, you're getting fucking laid. Do you understand? Like it just, it's so powerful. I regret that I made the "you're getting laid" joke, but there is a very like human, sexual, sensual, you know, tactile expression that people have when they see something that looks visually interesting and potentially like something they've never seen before. So yes, you look like something most of those people had never seen before, but not like something they would want to get close to.
Because you may get your blood sucked from your neck. But it is funny
like
because
a menace to society.
I got married in August, and so I had one of my other friends who's a magician, works at Sur Monsieur in Montreal. And I remember I called you as well, and I said, hey, looking for some materials and stuff to make a tux. Because it was really important to me to have something that was like different, but still like classic and badass. And unfortunately, because of COVID, I couldn't come to New York City. But I did travel like 7 hours or 8 hours to go to Montreal to get this suit made, and went back a couple times to have it tailored to me and everything else. So I'm going to bring up the finished product if I can.
Okay.
Let's see. So, boom, me and my wife. But
you'll look terrific, by the way.
Thank you. But and it's hard to see in the picture, but the whole suit or the jacket is all paisley as well. So it's black paisley and stuff in it, and then inside the jacket is obviously done and tailored to me exactly. Hopefully, I mean, you may have critique it as well now and say,
he's absolutely jacked, bro.
Yeah, I'm a big guy. I'm
right there. Man's just doing curls off to the side. Where's the weight?
No.
Wow.
But yeah, someone said I once flew from Ottawa to Sydney, Australia, to have a suit fitted. Sydney, Australia. Nice. That's pretty sweet. But it is important. I mean, I can tell I was a little ticked after they took the photo that my bow tie was a little bit off. That pissed me.
I don't mind that at all. I think it looks great. So look, there's a term that comes from the writing of is it Baudelaire or Balzac? I don't remember. Anyway, there's a term called sprezzatura, which the Italians have popularized and sort of made prolific, especially in the menswear community. But there were varying definitions, but essentially it means like effortless elegance or beauty and nonchalance. And I think that it was the notion of that was what the professor was speaking to when he would say, be natural. It's this idea of effortless elegance. So that your bow tie is crooked, to me, makes it better.
Yeah.
I think it's more beautiful. I think it's more interesting. I think it's clearer to the viewer that, oh, he might have actually tied that himself. That's not some pre-tied bow tie. Yeah. I think all of these little details make for something more interesting and more beautiful. And the Italians have really made an art out of dishevelment, artful dishevelment,
Yeah.
And it can be, it's been taken to extremes, but the way that it has sort of evolved in the last decade, as far as like the menswear community is concerned, is like, people will wear their ties, and the thin blade will be just a little longer than the wide blade.
Yeah.
It's just a subtle way of saying like, whatever, I didn't pay attention, I just threw it on. It doesn't matter. I just put it on and forgot about it. Or the pocket square is a little janky, or one of the buckles on the shoe is undone, or the buttons on the cuff are undone, stuff like that.
Yep.
These little things that go, oh yeah, I'm wearing this really beautiful thing that fits me really well, and they're just clothes, living in it,
for sure.
and that's like, obviously that's not for everybody, and it wouldn't be appropriate for everyone, but I do think that there's something really compelling about, there's the too perfect theory in magic, and Blaze, your all black outfit, is a little too perfect. Like it's not compelling. It's not interesting. There are not layers there. There are not beats that are hitting, right? So there's storytelling in the cloth that you choose. There's storytelling in the proportions that you use. I like that wide shoulder on you, especially because you have fairly narrow shoulders compared to your hips as well. I like that wide shoulder. I like that wide peak lapel. I think if the jacket were a little shorter and fit better to your frame, that could be a really compelling look for you. Even if you dressed it down, that could be something really interesting. Because like some of the most beautiful, handsome men in really drapey, elegant tailoring are rail thin. Like there's a whole world of like not the skinny, tight, all one color magician look that I think if people were interested in and opened up to, like,
I think that
be a total game changer.
I think that's the thing I hated the most, because I am a bigger guy. When I sent, I think I sent you the photos as well. I said, here's some inspirations for what I'm looking for the wedding. And the one was actually a model from Sir Monsieur, and my friend Devin, he knew the guy, and he's like, that guy weighs like 135 pounds, and he's 5'10" or something like that, or 5'11", and he goes, you have muscles, like it's not going to fit like that, like and I think that's what a lot of people see and expect to get that, and then when you don't see that in the mirror, you're like, oh. But
well, and I really try to have a conversation with people about like, look, we got to work with what you got. And I'm very clear that the better you look naked, the worse you look in tailoring. Because clothing, the fabric is fighting against your body. So if you're really cut, or you have like really broad shoulders and a little tiny waist, like the fabric isn't going to fall cleanly. It just is physically impossible. I mean, there are ways that you can mold the fabric and you can tailor it so that it looks nice. But if you think that you are going to get if you have muscles and you think you're going to get a skinny fit, prepare to blow your fucking pants out on the dance floor at your wedding. It just is a terrible mistake. And is really important to me as somebody who fits gentlemen typically, but I've also made clothing for women. It's really important to me that whoever is in front of me, even before they have their suit, they feel like they were respected. They feel like they were safe to share their vulnerabilities about and around how they look, how they feel about how they look, how they feel about how they feel, and confident that they received counsel from somebody who has their best interest at heart regarding aesthetics. So I try really hard to recommend appropriate cloth for the occasion in which it's going to be worn, how it's going to be worn, how often it will be worn. I try really hard to express and communicate to the client in a way that is subtle and clear. This is how your body looks. these are the things that I can do architecturally and design wise to emphasize or minimize X, Y, and Z. I can't, if you look like Stephen Fry, I can't make you look like Matt Damon. But I can make you look like a fucking movie star, just not Matt Damon. You know what I mean? Like everybody is unique and everybody's working with their own thing. And it all depends on what their inspiration is and what their aesthetic is that they're going for. And if they're coming in as a magician, you know, who they are. You know, like I don't know how they would feel about me talking about this, but I'm gonna. I was at Magi Fest and I fit Josh and Andy. Josh wanted some wardrobe consulting for his show that he tours with and, you know, does. And he was given a note about his show, which is that, you know, the show's good, but it looks like he bought it at Office Max. And he was like, yeah, you're right. You know, I'm of the mentality it's got to pack flat and play big. And, you know, I want to be able to, if my baggage gets lost, be able to go and get the, you know, all of that. Which again is a sales tactic for magic companies to be like, buy this product because you'll be safe. It's not actually about who you are and what you're doing. It's about, we need to sell this thing. So he got that note and he just started thinking about, well, like, what is it that he's actually presenting? What is it that he wants to give off? And so fitting Josh and Andy, who are business partners for Vanishing Ink, was a very different process. Josh is a tall, fit, handsome guy. You know, he's got this beautiful olive skin and dark coloring. And Andy is like sort of an average build, light-skinned British dude. Totally different body types, totally different styles of interpersonal communication, performance, etc. They can't wear the same thing. They can't have the same design details. They can't have the same shoulder padding. It just, you know, it's a from scratch. Who are you? What's the best thing that you can communicate? You know, and for some of these, you know, Josh has preferences about what he likes to wear and how he wants to wear it and things like that. And Andy was sort of like, I don't know. You tell me, which is sort of liberating and fun. And I get to do what I like to do, which is, okay, I see you. I see who you are. This is what we're going to do. You know, we're going to do a roped shoulder as a nod to your British heritage. We're going to do a ticket pocket. You love the color red, maybe in an unhealthy way. I'm going to try and fit that into your aesthetic. Josh is wearing a t-shirt and a vest and a coat and a pant. You're going to wear, you know, this really elegant two-piece suit. And instead of a shirt and tie, you're going to wear a sweater, you know, like, and the sweater is going to have a red rim, a red, like red edging around the, you know, so like building this whole thing from scratch for these people is about who they are, what they present, why they present, how they present, where they come from, what the story there is, what the story is that they're telling. There's so many things that you take into consideration. And it's unique to the person, which is why I love what I do, because it's not, I'm not doing the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. You know, oh, you need a navy suit? Okay, great. Bang, done.
Yeah.
I can do that. But even if I am making you a navy suit, why don't we get something with like a really subtle pattern in there? It's got an interesting texture. You know, why don't we play with this proportion a little bit? It may be something that you're not used to. Like, I love a high-rise trouser. I like something where the waist is a little higher. It elongates the legs. It draws the eyes up towards the face. It hides your belly if you have one. It makes pants much more comfortable because they're sitting closer to your natural waist, so that when you sit or bend over, it's not the waistband isn't jamming into your hip bones, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many reasons that it's great, and nobody makes them that way. So when I say, let's try this, it will be unusual, but you will grow to love it and appreciate it. People say, okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's not my experience and hasn't been so far. I haven't had the opportunity, but because you have shown me that you care about who I am and what I'm putting out into the world, I will trust you.
Yeah.
And when they trust me and I fulfill on that expectation, people have a transformation around clothing, around their appearance, around the way that they experience the world and interact with one another. So,
yep. It was funny because earlier we had a couple comments come in. Fiddle and Johnny says, I want all my clothes tailored. And then the next comment was from Grant, I'll never buy a suit too expensive. So it's interesting that we've got a lot of people that, and they've both been around right from the very start. But I remember because, when I was younger, I, bought suits and stuff for work where I worked. And I was like, I got to be professional and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was like, I don't want people to judge me or see me as what I'm wearing. I don't want them to see me. And so then I started, down dressing a little bit and stuff. Because I was younger. I was like 17, 18 in like suits and ties and everything else. And it just didn't feel like me at the time. And then I had my first, I remember I went to a university like semi-formal thing or whatever, and I went and bought a jacket, and I think it, like, off the rack, it was like $300, and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy for a jacket. And now, I mean, the price I've paid for suits is crazy, but I mean, they're tailored to me, and every stitch is like, yeah, we need to do this. But if you have that experience, you will never go back to buying a regular suit ever again. It's, and the nice thing too is, and I'm sure you have it, like in the swatches in the back, you have swatches from a bunch of different companies, which fit different people's budgets. And so you can get a cheaper suit that is still tailored to you, that fits you perfectly. Or if you want, like, you can get, the material that James Bond has his suit made from and stuff, right? And that is going to be more expensive, but it's going to be a way more badass suit. So,
that's not necessarily true.
No, it may not be.
I agree with everything that you said up until the last part of
it's still going to be
expensive suit is.
It's badass because James Bond has the same. That's what makes it badass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I always botch the quote, but essentially it's that you remember poor quality a lot longer than you remember high price. I think it's something like the sting of high price, or the sting of poor quality lasts long after the sting of high price is forgotten, or whatever, cost is forgotten, something to that effect. Basically, if you buy something, if you invest, if you invest in something that's made well and made for you, and this is not just suit related, it's not just clothing related, if you invest in something good that will last, if you think about it cost per wear wise, you're spending much less money than buying something cheap that you're going to have to replace more frequently. So is it difficult? And obviously I'm aware of the privilege of being able to spend $500 on a pair of Goodyear welted shoes that will last me 20 years that I can have resold over and over again, because I had that $500 in the first place. I understand the privilege of that. And unfortunately, we live in a late stage capitalist society in which that kind of thing is a problem. It is an issue, and we have to deal with that in the ways that we can. And if you have the means, it is worth spending more money up front and using the thing much longer, because it's better for the environment, it's better for your wallet. You then develop, beauty and patina in this old thing that is yours. It becomes a part of you, a part of your story. I get sentimental about things, but I'm not precious about them. So if something has served its time, move on, make a new story with something else. But while you have the thing, God, it can be really beautiful that it's a consistent part of your life. I have a leather jacket that I bought with Homer at the Best Made on on La Brea in Los Angeles. And I got it and it was pristine. And Homer was like, "Can I age that for you?" Like he wanted to, go in and patina the jacket. And I was like, "No, I'm going to do that naturally."
Mhm. Yeah.
And, it's cold as shit here in New York and I wear it all the time, every day. When I'm just going
Nice.
out, running to the bodega or the grocery store, whatever, like I just toss it on. And it's, one of the rivets is coming loose and the inside of the jacket is blue and black from my blue jeans rubbing on it. And the edge of the cuffs, because they're leather, have been like burnished from contact. And I've got stains and it's just chef's kiss beautiful. The age on this thing. I love it. I'm so thrilled with it. And
there's nothing else like it in the world. There is no jacket that's exactly like your jacket because it's become yours through all the time that you've worn it.
And, I've paid more money than I could afford at the time, but I bought it with the belief and the intention of, God, I really want a leather jacket and this ticks all the boxes and it's really lovely and it's guaranteed for life. And, and I haven't regretted it. It's been a total workhorse. I've worn it all over the country.
Yeah, I mean it goes for anything. I mean, if you buy a shitty computer, you're going to buy another computer in a year, right?
Yeah.
Or if you spend a little bit more, you might have that for a few years and work better all the time. Same like if you buy a car, right? If you buy the shittiest, cheapest car, you might have it back in the shop every week, and you're going to regret that purchase forever.
Yeah.
And in 25 years, when that car is gone, you're still going to be going, "Oh, I had that lemon of a car from, whatever company is a piece of shit," So spend spend a little bit extra money.
If you can, obviously.
You can.
If you
if you can. Obviously, don't put yourself out of, out of house and home to get a car.
If you're choosing between having 5 not necessarily tailored and ill-fitting suits versus one really, really great one that is perfectly fit to you, then just go for having that one great suit, and that'll can last you a lifetime. Now, I think that we've got. What did you say?
As long as you don't grow too much.
Yeah. It depends on what point in your lifetime that you buy it. Now, we do have some interesting comments that have signaled a transitional point in the show. And we've had very passionate, endearing conversation, and now it is time to come up for air. Are you ready, Elliott?
He's not. I think we should play the whole song too.
I think we should play the whole song because he roasted us for the other jingle being long,
which is so short.
You ain't seen nothing yet. It's time.
It's time.
We know your favorite style of suit, but what's your favorite?
Lasagna!
What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
Meat. Lasagna.
Veggie.
Lasagna.
Plain.
Lasagna.
Saucy.
Lasagna.
What's your favorite genre of lasagna? Color.
Lasagna.
Cheesy.
Lasagna. Bolognese. Lasagna. Lasagna. Plain. Houdini. What's yours?
Oh, I love it.
Elliott, how do you feel about that?
I really did not know what I was getting into when I agreed to do this. That's how I feel about it.
I know you asked me before we started, is there any questions that you have, like any topics that we're going to hit? And I was like, nope. 100%.
All right, so what's the lasagna? Tell me. I'm interested. What's going on?
I mean, the question is reiterated many times in the foretold song. What's your favorite genre of lasagna?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's it.
I think probably like a Stouffer's frozen lasagna that I can cry into after a long day.
Oh, is it
Well,
Stouffer's that we learned about?
We've learned some dark secrets about Stouffer's, actually.
Yeah. We had
So that's a joke answer to your question, but I want to know whatever this Stouffer's dish is. Spill the tea.
Yeah, we had Bizarro on a few weeks ago, and Stouffer's is owned by Nestle.
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah, okay. Fuck Nestle. We're out.
he's like, I'm done.
Do you know the dish on Nestle?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So Bizarro said Stouffer's lasagna was his favorite, but he can now no longer eat it. So
No, he can no longer.
You know what? Actually, I do have a legitimate answer to this question.
there you go.
His favorite genre.
There was a restaurant in Los Angeles called Nosa, and it is Brazilian Italian fusion.
Ooh,
And their chicken lasagna is to die for.
there we go. There's a new
Their
type.
bajikaishu is also really delicious, but that's not lasagna.
Brazilian chicken lasagna.
We've not had
It's
that one yet.
so good. I'm actually probably going to eat there Monday night because I'm coming to Los Angeles next week to do
nice.
fittings. If anybody's interested, let me know. I'm bringing most of this shit with me. So
There you go. Hit Elliott up. Find him. Elliott, where can people find you to hit you up?
well,
What's
my
your address?
is
It's your phone number.
yeah. Just I don't know.
Find him on Instagram.
Find me on Instagram.
Yeah.
3 T's in the middle.
3 T's. We had a lot of questions like this. What was it recorded on Blaze's Blue Yeti?
It was recorded on Ryan's.
I didn't even have the Blue Yeti at the time. I think it was just my Mac. That was just voice memo. That's how awesome it was. Now we've upgraded.
Lasagna with large lapels. That's my favorite genre.
What's the best suit to wear to communicate to your audience that you are enjoying lasagna?
It's red gingham.
There you go.
Like
That's
cheap
real
Italian
chef's
restaurant, spaghetti
Yeah.
western style.
There you go.
Red gingham.
I can't believe. Yeah, Lindsay's still here. Yeah, we can find you at the Brazilian restaurant. Now we have a follow-up question to the lasagna genre.
Okay.
That question is: if you were to bake one chicken lasagna, Brazilian Italian chicken lasagna, and then bake a second identical lasagna.
And if you were to take that second identical chicken, Brazilian, Italian lasagna and place it atop the first identical lasagna, do you now have one lasagna or two?
You have neither one lasagna nor two.
A new answer.
Controversy.
You have a new construction. You have a double-decker lasagna. Here's why.
Ooh.
If it is plated as one object, it has become one object, but it is not one lasagna because the layers where they meet are delineated by the top layer of the original lasagna and the bottom layer of the second lasagna. If, however, you remove the top layer of the first lasagna and place the second lasagna onto it, you then have one tall lasagna.
Oof. But you did say you have a double-decker lasagna, and based on that article, it makes me assume that you are talking about a singular new creation.
It is a singular new creation. It is not one lasagna.
But it is a singular new creation.
It is one unit of lasagna cuisine. It is not one lasagna.
But would one argue that a double-decker lasagna is a genre of lasagna?
Yeah, you could argue that. You would be wrong, and I just proved it 48 seconds ago with my.
I'm just trying to say, it sounds like you're endorsing our lasagna mathematics merch available at allaccessmagic.com/shop. So, 1 lasagna plus 2
equals 1 lasagna.
1 plus 1 equals 1 in lasagna mathematics, because you end up with 1 double-decker. Look at this PNG. This PNG is bigger than those 2. That's a double-decker right there.
That is a double-decker.
Doesn't look like a double-decker. It just looks like a bigger piece of lasagna.
$12.25.
I love this. Tigger T says, does it matter if lasagna 1 goes on top of lasagna 2 or 2 on top of number 1? Or is it
there's probably an answer to that depending on the set time. If the second one just came out of the oven, it probably needs to go on top of the first one, because the first one is probably set. And if you were to put the first one on top of the second one that had just come out of the oven, it would probably squish all out. You know what I mean? So, there's a real answer to your fake question, Tigger. Next.
Next.
That was our best question.
That's about it. That's about it for the night.
There you go. Is there a lasagna top change you could teach?
Don't you love our fan base?
Yeah. See, Elliott, you said you looked at Kenner's episode, which was 3 hours, and we're at 2 hours and 40 minutes right now.
Yeah.
Are you like, I cannot believe I lasted this long talking to these two about stuff? Or are you like, wow, that was pretty easy. That was pretty easy. That was pretty quick.
Oh, are we done?
No. Guys, I just want to get your
my podcast was routinely. Mine was routinely over 2 hours long. So, like,
it's pretty easy, right?
Look, if we didn't have the sort of absurdist interstitials, we would be at a point where we're actually having an interesting conversation. But because we have been interrupted by this ridiculous nonsense, we just sort of keep resetting, and we never actually get anywhere important. So, hopefully
that's our
we'll just
modus operandi right now, though.
Hopefully we'll keep going long enough that you run out of things to do, and then we can have a conversation. Maybe that's
our thing is about coming up for air. Like, once we feel like we're getting somewhere, we must intentionally derail our own interview, because we can't let it get too deep, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and why is that?
Down the rabbit hole.
Our viewership. No,
your viewership. Oh, okay. So you're blaming your audience.
Yeah, no.
Got it.
No, we enjoy, for us, the lasagna question, how it started and came out. I think Blaze just asked me one day, and I was like, "Oh, that's a segment."
He asked you. He asked you what your favorite lasagna was, or he asked you the lasagna question.
Whoa! It was, what's your favorite genre of lasagna?
Genre of lasagna.
First, I asked him the initial question. First, I asked him our follow-up question, which was about the lasagna mathematics, because that is a real paradox in time. That's a real rift, a wrinkle in time there. And then after that, I asked him, what's your favorite genre of lasagna? And then once that was said, really, I mean, the show was born.
That was it. It was the beginning of the end.
What is the purpose of this show? This is a serious question. I mean, we're joking and sort of busting balls, but what is the purpose of the show, out of curiosity? What is it that you want to get out of this? Or what is it that you would like to contribute?
It's really a whole interview just so we can eventually get to that lasagna question. It's just a meandering walk until we can stumble upon that when our guest least expects it. When they feel like we're actually talking about their passions and interests, that's when we hit them with the lasagna.
Take them out. That's it.
Great. And what do you get from that?
A satisfaction.
Sadistic joy.
Just
satisfaction, sadistic joy.
Yeah. See, look at this. I came for magic, but I stayed for the lasagna. Don't forget the lasagna merch.
you cannot pay for that kind of fanaticism. I mean, I commend you both for creating a show in which people like Fiddle and Johnny can find themselves, resonate with the content, and it makes a difference. This is silly and fun and goofy, but the guys still on here, still making comments about lasagna. It's doing something for them, and I think that's beautiful. So regardless of whether or not you get sadistic pleasure out of this, you're making a difference for people, and I appreciate that.
But the real thing, Ryan always says that a big part of this is that we like to take a peek behind the curtain, and we like to see what magicians are like outside of the performance, outside of their stage persona, and get to actually know the people as genuine people. And we kind of just think of the lasagna as like, we get to throw this person off and just see them be creative, come up with a funny answer to a silly question that has no meaning. And that's part of seeing who they are as a person. We get to see how cool they are.
Yeah. We know that it irritates Elliott now.
It's actually, I'm having a wonderful time, guys. I mean, look, I'm putting on a show of being superior, but honestly, this is great. I'm having a fun time.
But that's what the podcast was originally set for, was, you know, a lot of people see performers only on stage, right? They don't get to talk to them after. And so you see this persona that this person creates for on stage. And so for me, it was a lot of fun getting to see, like, I'm friends with everybody, you know? And so it's like, oh, well, I know Elliott, like when we're at the bar, you know, and stuff like that. And we're chatting about shit and stuff, right? And it's not magic based, but no one else gets to see that, right? And so the people that watch this get to see who you are outside of that, you know, 15 minutes of fame when you're on stage. And I love that part about the show. It's like, there's a realness to, like, we're all humans, you know, because that when you're on stage, you're perfect, you know, or most of the time, or you're looked at as like, wow, that person is, you know, different than me. But we're all the same. We're all the same. You know, we have different insights and stuff. So, this was a very nice comment. In all honesty, I'm here because I like Ryan and Blaze. They do such a great job with their guests, and I like the guests they have.
And now put up the next comment.
You keep clicking on it too.
We're both clicking it at the same time. Yeah.
Best comment of the night.
It's gotten better. And I like how when I was talking about some very some roundabout explanation for why there's, you know, some importance to lasagna, he just roasted me and was like, "Oh yeah, that's a load of BS."
But Lindsay said, "Serious answer. I had no idea you existed, Elliott. They brought you to me." So that's the thing that we like too. Is like, you know, I know what you do, but most people would not know that you were, you know, had your own suit company now and making suits. And I think that it is super important in the magic community that we look better, because I've seen a lot of guys on stage that don't look good, you know.
Well, so that's, you know, years ago. Also, thank you, Lindsay. You're very kind. Years ago, I started started brainstorming, like, how is there not a book? God, fucking kill me. How is there not a book for magicians about, like, you know, there's a scripting magic. There's not a dressing magic. Like, how are people not talking about this?
Well,
there is
Elliott, what the hell have you been doing? What the hell have you been doing? We're waiting for it.
I know.
There's your answer.
So anyway, you know, there was a long time of me sort of thinking about this, but not really having any motivation to do anything about it. And then, you know, going to Magi Fest and seeing that most magicians, like, I had my swatches out at the table and all the things, and people would come up and they'd go, "Do you do toppets?" And it's like, oh, you think this is another magic prop? Like, you think this is another dealer item that you can buy? It's like people relate to it as not as, again, what we've been talking about, as a piece of their personage, their character, their set, the experience of the audience. They relate to it as a means to an end or a new gimmick to play with.
Can I cut you off for 2 seconds? Just because I see Fiddler and Johnny is leaving, but he had some really great comments. And he said, "Elliott, I've listened to every one of your podcasts, but felt like tonight I saw a different side." So that's what we try to bring out. And then he said, "Elliott, it's time for you to write the book." And then he's taken off. So thank you, Fiddle and Johnny. He's been on here right from the start. So
Fiddle and Johnny, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I also want to say that you saw a different side tonight because I'm a different person now. I mean, for a bunch of reasons, but thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. I'm looking over here at your name. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
See,
Sorry, I cut you off.
We've improved our fashion decisions. We're all doing.
You still look like a vampire.
I mean,
Is a phone outline in a performer's front pocket a pet peeve of Elliott's? If you're performing and your phone is in your pocket, formally, of course, we're talking formal performance. If your phone is in your pocket, just take it out, leave it backstage. If you have something that you're using to cue music, lights, whatever, find a place for it that is not your front pocket. Yes, an outline in the front pocket is a huge pet peeve of mine. Because there's so many fucking pockets inside your jacket. You can use your back pockets. Like, there's other places to put it that aren't being mistaken for a fucking dick shadow. Like, it just dumb.
Yeah, I definitely made that mistake many times in that same era from that picture where I would just load up with so many different props and things and have bulges everywhere. And and now even if my wallet is like in my pocket, it makes me feel weird because like I don't like how it makes my pants look in the bulge of it, you know. And yeah, it's like, you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah. I try to keep my front pockets relatively empty. I mean, I'll put my keys in my front pockets. But that being said, I have a key ring that holds them. What is that? Oh, it's a wrapper. I have a key ring that holds them so that they are like nice and slim and easy to get to. So like that's visually interesting, and it also keeps the pocket line clean. It's not like, also I just have 2 keys, so you know it's a fairly low profile solution. But like, yeah, otherwise, aside from the wrapper in my pocket, there's nothing in my pockets, in my front pockets. I use my back pockets for my wallet and my phone because I'm typically wearing a jacket, and the jacket is going to cover my seat, and so you don't see the stuff in my pockets.
Now, did you have a question, Ryan? I was going to ask something about it. I saw you.
Never. Nope, never.
Now, this can get into maybe an area that we don't necessarily want to with calling out specific people or organizations. So maybe we don't necessarily need to do that. But aside from fashion, maybe on a larger scale, what are some of the problems that you see with the magic community as a whole that you think need to be addressed or spoken about more? I know that you've been vocal about certain things you mentioned with social activism in the past, and whatever direction that you'd wish to take it. But I'm curious about things that you feel like the magic community needs to maybe catch up with the times or progress about.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't think it serves anyone for me to call out people in particular. I mean, I did that already. And it didn't go well. In fact, at Magi Fest, I had somebody yell at me at dinner. So, like, you know, people are still butthurt about it. But
I like that we have in one interview the same man saying things like sartorial and very flagrant, like, you know, terminology, and then also following it up with butthurt. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I also said full body tickler and silly goose. So
yeah, I was going to say silly goose.
As I mentioned, I am a complicated individual and I contain multitudes.
We learned about the G-nut buttered pelly or whatever that was.
G-nut, yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, oh god, it's so funny. Yeah, look, God, how I don't know how to do it. I don't know what. There's no way to do it. It just takes individuals examining their own bullshit, deprogramming their either inherited or learned behavior, beliefs, you know, being open to changing, learning, growing. And I have a difficult time believing that magic could attain a pedestal as an art form because magicians are so reticent to grow or change or develop or find new ideas and change their mind and listen to other people who might be right. So many magicians are just convinced that they're right about every possible thing, which is why they write, produce, direct, act, all their own shit instead of building a team. It's all interconnected, so there is no one solution. But in order for magic to modernize, like, first of all, I think we're just waiting for the old people to die. Because that's a lot of the problem, especially in the big magic hotspots.
Just waiting for him to die. Gold nugget, mic drop.
In the big magic hotspots, there are people who are venerated for their prolific work, and it totally obfuscates anything problematic. I think as far as the magic institutions are concerned, I think they're more interested in saving face rather than making a difference. And when I say make a difference, I'm talking specifically about condemning and punishing racist, sexist, bigoted, shitty behavior. Because they'd rather just apologize for it and pretend that it didn't happen and say that they're doing something about it, but not really doing something about it. And that's just magic institutions in general. I think as far as individuals are concerned, as I mentioned, I think we're just waiting for the old people to die, but also it's every individual's responsibility. That surely extends beyond magic. Yeah, no fucking shit, but that's what we're talking about magic.
But it is funny that
nothing that I'm saying is original either. These are things that I read in books that here's an Audible plug for you. How to be an anti-racist. Download that and read it for free.
It is funny because I've said that though in previous work experiences that I had. I asked someone, are we just waiting for the older people to die till we change? Because if we are, then there's no sense of being here right now for me, because we're going to die before they do. And it is a good point. Does magic die before they do? Right? Like, do people give a shit about it if it just continues the way it is?
Well, people don't give a shit about it now.
But that's what, like, does it get to a point where it's like, oh yeah, no time for magic kind of thing?
Yeah, we're there. We have been there for 30 years.
Yeah. I just mean, is it like, does it ever get to a point? I mean, obviously the Art of Astonishment is always, interesting to people, but does it get to a point where, no one is hiring magicians anymore to do anything? It's like, I don't want a magician at my event.
No, because they're not hiring artists. They're hiring tricksters. We're not going to get to a point where people say, look, magicians are getting hired for that they do magic. They're not getting hired because they're artists. Right? They're getting hired because they're going to go around and, masturbate for people for 2 hours, and it's going to be, $1,000 or whatever. Or they can hire somebody that could actually make a difference and spend, whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So like individuals have to examine the ways in which they are not doing a good job in their own experience. If like racism is only an uncomfortable topic if you're a racist, period. If you're uncomfortable with the term racism, you're a fucking racist, period. Deal with that shit. You got to get your own house clean before we can even attempt to do something about this thing that we want to debate about whether it's an art or not. Like, it just doesn't work. So individually, we have to do a better job. We have to not be gross. We can also be encouraging. But that comes down the line from cleaning up the house. And when I was saying, like, I don't think we ought to wait for the old people to die, obviously. But unfortunately, the old people are so venerated and have such an iron fist over the way that people experience and relate to magic within the community. like, a lot of it is just sort of at a fucking standstill. I mean, it's my personal belief that there are particular venues in the country, sort of on the western side, that I wouldn't mind if they just didn't exist anymore. Like, I don't think they're really doing anything good for anybody, so...
Can we use weapons to speed up the process? Let's not.
I mean,
but
I mean, look, you have to, look. When I left the Magic Castle, I heard from a lot of people, I'm gonna stay and try and fix it from the inside. And my response to that is, nothing has ever been fixed that way. Historically. That's not how it works. The systems are set up so that the people in power remain in power. It just is that way. So, like, if you're going to stay in the system and try and fix it from the inside, the only solution's a fucking coup. And I don't see that happening.
But what if we mail in votes? Could that change for the certain? I'm Canadian. That's my American joke for the night.
What are these mail in votes? Okay, sorry.
So yeah,
look, I got a laugh from Lindsay. I got a laugh from Lindsay. That is good. That didn't happen.
There are too many things to be one thing. But like, okay, here's an example, right? This is an example of what not to do. So at Magi Fest last weekend, there were 2 women on the bill for the whole convention. The convention is 3 days long. Lectures, panels, whatever. 2 women on the bill. One of them is only performing in the gala show in the evening. The other one is doing another performance. And I think she hosted the gala show. So this, I'm not going to name any names, but the woman comes out and performs. And the guy who's hosting that event comes back out, and his response to her performance was, "You laughed at her jokes because she's pretty. You didn't laugh at the same jokes that I made before. I guess she's still a good magician." I'm sorry?
It's like an MC that said that?
This is the MC. Now, this is a paraphrasation. I'm distilling what he said down into the problems with it. Obviously, he came out and he was like, "Ha ha, you guys laughed at this," and blah, blah. You know, I'm breaking it down to the bare bones because I want to talk about what the issue was, not that he's a dumb motherfucker who's never examined anything in his life and he's 48 years old and wears skinny jeans. He looks like a bulldog standing on his hind legs. Like, it's a French bulldog. Let me be clear.
Hey, Ryan's got some French bulldogs.
I've got 2 of those.
They can be
adorable. Yeah, and you know how like middle-aged men in skinny jeans can look like that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, the point of what I'm trying to say is that this woman who performed and at the beginning thanked Josh and Andy for supporting women in magic was performing in an event hosted by the MC who hosted most of the events at the convention, and the MC came out and goes, "You only laughed at her because she was pretty, but I guess she was a good magician." Next person. Like, don't fucking do that. I don't even have the poetry of language to tell you why you're a fucking idiot. You are, like, people are just so... Again, it comes back to self-awareness. It comes back to self-centeredness. It's all about ego. Magicians are petty and they're fragile creatures. And in order to examine anything of your own programming, the way that you relate to the world, you have to shed some of that. Ooh, it's scary. It doesn't feel good. Ooh, I'm going to feel guilty. Get rid of that. You're trying to be a better person. Just do it. And people either aren't aware that they ought to, or are actively afraid of doing it, or don't believe that they ought to do it. And, what do you do? I guess you just wait till they die. I don't know. Like we're just doing the best that we can. But all that you can do is just do it for yourself. Look at the ways in which your experience of the world impacts your relation to the world. And then examine whether or not the way you relate to the world is just and equitable and encouraging and empowering. And are you leaving the world a better place? And what does better mean? How do you define that? What does that look like? Asking these kinds of questions, God, you know what? It might make you a fucking artist. Like, it just while the magic community looks the way that it looks, magic will not be an art form, period, at the end. It just is impossible. And so maybe that's how we get people to do it, is we go, hey, you know what? You want magic to be an art? Maybe be of the world. Maybe deal with the shit that's happening that is not small. Makes a big difference to a lot of people. You have the privilege of being able to shuffle playing cards for a living. Not everybody gets to do that. So maybe consider that and what you can do about it. Even if what you do about it doesn't necessarily change what your day-to-day looks like, as long as it's part of your experience and part of your thought process, those little ripples will make a difference. And obviously, like, fucking donate and volunteer and support. And Jesus Christ, if you're a white person, shut up and listen. Like, just fucking don't. Especially if you're a white man. Like, just, you know, we're three white guys here talking about race. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. And that's one of the things, like, I don't want to interview 20 more white guys for my podcast. I just don't. I don't think it's interesting. I don't even give a shit what these people have to say. Some of them I do, because I think there's interesting, magical, important things. But, like, a lot of the guests that I've had are just fucking friends of mine who happen to be white guys. Like, they're filling time, they're filling space, and I love them to death. But, like, I fucked up by having them on my show because I didn't do a better job. I didn't take more of an effort to actually make a difference in the world. I just wanted to, oh, you're a friend of mine, let's have this conversation about magic and art. Like, I spent fucking 4 hours with Jordan Gold talking about carbonated water. Like, you know, I made a mistake.
The lasagna question was stupid.
Yeah. So I've, you know,
I
I'm
that
just
was really what we were lacking when it came to making social progress. Is there was a serious lack of lasagna.
Yeah, it's making a big difference, guys. You're doing
big
real work,
man. It's the one uniting factor, you know. Lasagna sees no race, no age, no gender.
No.
So, Blaze, did I answer your question?
I think that was a very good way to put it without necessarily calling out individuals. And yeah, I think that I agree with.
It's taking everything in my body not to shout "fuck" a particular person.
We'll do that.
It's basically like
do that after.
It's basically
we'll do that after.
Anytime I get frustrated, like if my printer's not working, I'll just yell that phrase with that person's name.
But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a big thing with the fact that if you look at any of the other art forms or any of the actual art forms, if we're going by your definitions that you've previously laid out, then if you look at those art forms, there is an importance that is put on innovation and consistently creating, and that's one of the most important aspects of those art forms, whether it's music or whether it's comedy or theater. Obviously, there is the element of theater where you're performing something that's been written years ago and reimagining it into a modern day. But there's a certain interesting aspect of the pedagogy of magic that is different from all of those, in that there's this emphasis on like secrets and doing things the way that they were done before. And rather than looking outside of the community and finding inspiration from the world around you and then bringing it into your art, instead there's this constantly derivative nature of like, I'm going to just look at the history of magic and try to constantly just replicate what's been done before me, and everybody who's done it before me is a god and is the giant whose shoulders I'm standing on, so I need to do it exactly like them. And then there's a strange elitism that comes out of that, where people look down on other magicians for not doing it exactly the way it's supposed to be done because they're not, I guess, appreciating the secrets enough or whatever. It's just whenever we think about our art form as just about preserving secrets of the past, we aren't understanding that some of the ways that things were done in the past are antiquated and are not necessarily right for the modern day, whether that is based on performance and technique in the art form, or that's also just like the decorum of these people and how they treated others. And there's a lot that can be changed and brought into the modern day. And we should look at other actual art forms and their ability to find inspiration and continually progress and be inspired by the world around them, rather than us just having this tunnel vision and looking at the pedagogy of the past as if it's gospel.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of erasure that happens in magic history. I'm somebody that believes that if you're teaching someone magic, don't tell them any magic history. Like, if they find it, let them find it on their own, and if it's interesting to them, great. But like, I don't think anybody should learn it because it's fucking gross. The two most famous magic effects. You ask a layperson, when you think of a magic trick, what do you think of? Sawing a woman in half, pulling a rabbit out of a hat. These two magic effects are the destruction and replacement of women, of the female body. Pulling a rabbit out of a hat is birth. It is creation. It is literally like, it's literally birth. And then cutting a woman in half is, well, it's cutting a woman in half.
Literally using a woman as if she is a prop rather than a person.
And destroying her.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, well, you're looking at cutting a woman in half from a modern perspective. Motherfucker, that trick was created during the women's suffrage movement in the UK. And the fucking guy who invented it and wanted to do it for people invited the leader of the women's suffrage movement to get in the fucking box. It was a response to women taking up space. Let's cut them in half. Let's destroy them. If you think that that's not political, you're fucking delusional or you're ignorant.
Had no idea about that.
Yeah. So
I just thought it was a shitty trick.
And it is. But like that, exactly. Blaze, you're a professional magician. You make a living doing stuff in and around magic. And you didn't know that. Nobody else does either. And that matters. Like, the kind of fucking gross shit that is steeped in this community is old and it's guarded. That's the vault full of secrets that magicians are guarding, is how fucked up the history is. It's gross. It's gross. And you're right, nobody's doing anything about it. So that's what these conversations are for, I suppose.
Exactly. That's why we exist. But we have someone else sign up for our Patreon if you just yell at the printer.
Look, I would love to help y'all get a new subscriber. I really would.
And then, but tier 3, all the benefits of the previous tiers, plus Elliott yells phrases at the printer.
I tell you what, we can, here you go. This is how it's going to work. 137 unofficial. I will record something with them telling the full story of what happened for the top level Patreon. Top tier Patreon. You can have the exclusive video.
Oh,
I love that.
We'll air it. Oh, Yeah, we'll air it as a private video, just a special weekly patter episode just for our top tier patron. Whoever signs up right now, you're getting a real treat.
You will watch it every day. It'll just be a daily watch. Get up in the morning, watch Elliott yell. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing ever.
Tigger says, "Oh, that sounds so tempting."
You can get it for a month and then cancel after the month if you've gotten enough of it. But I'm pretty sure you're going to want to continue watching it every day for the rest of your life. So it might be a lifer.
I mean, look, if you want to do some sleuthing, it wouldn't be hard to find out who I'm talking about. Would not be hard to figure it out.
What do you want to expedite? Oh, Benny Slade's in here. How's it going, Benny? Elliott's Roundtable.
Benny's been in here for a while. You missed all Benny's other comments before. But yeah, Elliott, I kind of want to go off so that we can talk behind the curtains for a few minutes, if that's cool. But because we're over 3 hours now. You've lasted longer than Kenner.
Can we really quick in a short, and we'll give you a time limit again on this one.
Okay.
Just what would you say is something that you find beautiful about magic, that you find is a silver lining about it? I know obviously you've taken some time away from it, but something that is a silver lining that can inspire people about the good sides of magic, because we've talked about the bad a whole lot tonight.
That's a good question.
You have advice for a young magician, that's getting into it?
Give someone hope, Elliott.
Here's what I would have to say. You said there was a time limit. Oh, okay, 2 minutes.
There you go, 2:09.
The silver lining to magic is that once it hooks you, it never lets go. So even if you step away, you will always be drawn back. And in my opinion, stepping away, experiencing burnout, experiencing disappointment, raging against the machine is part of the trip. So for me, the learning that I have had over my however many years is about constantly being disappointed, because I can never find the answer to the question that I'm asking. And the answer is always just right in front of me. It just takes a really long time for me to recognize it. And it's one of the beautiful things about it is that it's perfectly analogous to how you learn magic. For example, you want to learn card tricks. You get Royal Road to Magic, you learn Crosscut Force, you learn the Riffle Force, you learn a bunch of self-working tricks, and then you forget all of that. And then you've learned progressively more difficult sleight of hand and elaborate plots, and you get into gimmicks and gaffes and blah, 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 blah. All the while you're searching for the real magic. What is it? What's the thing? It's not doing it for me. It's not the hit. I'm looking for and that thing that you're looking for is always edging you in your progression towards what is real magic. What is the method that is going to look and feel and experience real magic? And then 15 years later, you go, oh, you know what? It's the Crosscut Force. It's doing nothing and just being with people. And I think that's really, really beautiful. So there's your answer.
That was perfect.
Right on time, too. You timed that out perfectly.
That was perfect. That was extraordinary.
I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you having the clock on the thing. That was
fine piece of poetry right there to finish it off.
Very poetic. Yeah, it's just being with people and creating experiences.
Elliott, I want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been a blast. I mean,
this has been a blast.
It hasn't been one of our crazy episodes, but I think the stuff that we talked about was so important for people to hear in every aspect, because we talked about a bunch of different things. So, I really hope that everybody enjoyed this and watch it again and take notes. If you're not taking notes at home, take more notes, grab a pad of paper tomorrow and write a book. And Elliott,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I hope that you will write a book on the fashion side of magic, because it hasn't been done yet. So get to work, man. Get to work.
If anyone,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah, I mean, we're getting up.
Do you have anything that you'd like to pimp that we can promote? Is there a link to where people can find your suit business? Or
yes,
this is a great
yeah.
moment.
I feel like you're my dad. I don't want to disappoint you in life.
You know what, Lindsay, I appreciate that, but I just want you to know, as long as you're doing your best and you're trying your hardest, it'll be really tough to disappoint me.
Yeah.
So I don't care about my personal Instagram account anymore. It doesn't really make a difference to me. But my business, my brand is called Racont, and Instagram and the website are the same. So it's Racont, RACONTE.boutique. And that's all you have to type into the search bar, and it will come up. That's the URL. It's not .com, it's .boutique. And
Instagram, right in the headline. We know it's him.
That's right. Racont sartorial storytelling is the whole idea.
Right there.
And
boutique.
Yeah, so that's I do concierge made-to-measure tailoring. Obviously, I do a lot more than that. It's not just suits and shirts, but I make jeans and chinos, and I made this chore jacket and the shirt and the jeans that I'm wearing right now, and the fucking shoes that I'm wearing. So I made all that stuff. And magicians, if you're interested, we can talk. I'm happy to talk. I have rates for like consulting and the sort of stuff that we talked about in this episode. But if you just have some questions, yeah, I'd be happy to chat with you. It's totally fine. Just reach out to me. Let me know. I'll be in Los Angeles next week, February 7th through the 11th, doing fittings. My schedule's pretty much booked, but if you're interested, I have a couple slots available that I can make work. I don't need to see all my friends. They'll probably still be alive the next time I come to LA, whatever.
No problem.
So, yeah, it's fine. So, follow and share and reach out and ask questions. Listen to Magical Thinking.
Check out all of the 83 episodes, I believe, of Magical Thinking.
Oh, I guess. Are you getting feedback? Because my headphones just died.
It's all right. We're wrapping it up anyways.
Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah, just, I've done a bunch of shit. It's easy to find. I stopped Googling myself a long time ago, but I'm sure if you Google me, Vanishing Ink stuff will come up and the podcast will come up and whatever. You could probably get all of my downloads from Vanishing Ink off some torrent website that's like, magicparcheesi whatever. I don't know. Also, there's a video tutorial on Jeremy Griffith's YouTube channel and another interview with him for the color change that I mentioned earlier. Not the one with 12.
Not with 12.
With 12. Not one with 12. No, but you should go check that out. And the whole point of that video was I'm going to give this away, and you should donate to diversity, equity, and inclusive causes. Donate to social justice what you would have paid for the tutorial. So check that out and donate, please. And just fucking do better. Fuck, God. Please, I'm begging you.
Please,
we're all gonna do better. Thanks, Dad. We're all gonna try. We're gonna do much better.
Make Elliott proud.
Make Elliott proud. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This has been a blast. If you're one of our Patreon subscribers, thank you for the support. If you're not a patron yet, you can join right now before the end of the episode, and we'll be sending out our free download to everybody afterwards. Patreon.com/allaccessmagic.
And tomorrow's games night. So Patreon games night.
If you want to join the Patreon, play Mafia with us, it'll be a blast. Happy we squeezed in another ad right there. But thank you again, Elliott, for being here. We had a great time. Thank you, all the people like Lindsay and the people that have watched for hours. It's been a blast. Really enjoyed this one. And Lindsay said, no disrespect to your previous guest, Elliott is the best one. And I think we should wrap it up there.
Can't wait to rub that in Kenner's face.
We'll see you.
See you guys next week.
Thanks, y'all. This is fun.
Peace.